jeopardize the safety of the very communities private security companies protect.
Restricting security firms' access to essential tools like, for example, tasers and other kinds of weapons leaves them unarmed, making communities more vulnerable to crime, and so too those very guards.
Independent crime analyst Mxolisi Slavana says private security fill a significant gap in crime fighting that police cannot.
If you look at the number of the subs that they are currently, I'm now talking about the operational members, which is just over 200,000. But if you look at the security personnel, private security personnel, over 580,000.
Industry role players have questioned the proposed amendments without having been consulted. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
And US President Donald Trump says the country has started direct talks with its longtime rival, Iran. The Iranian foreign minister says they will hold indirect talks with the US in Oman on Saturday, despite Trump saying these would be direct discussions. The US president pulled out of the last nuclear discussions and negotiations with Iran in 2018 during his first presidency, and there has been speculation that Israel, possibly with US help, might attack Iranian facilities if no new agreement is reached. Trump made the unexpected announcement while hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House last night.
Maybe a deal is going to be made. That would be great. It'll be really great for Iran, I can tell you that. But hopefully we're not going to have to get into that. We are meeting very importantly on Saturday at almost the highest level.
Gold is trading at $3,004.21 an ounce. The rand is at 19.40 to the dollar, 24.81 to the pound, 21.32 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.75 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Parktown, there's been an accident along the M1 South that happened just before Empire Road. It's causing delays. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 North between Boysons Road and Carr Street, while travelling on the N3 North, delays between Marlborough Drive and the Buccleuch interchange.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The ANC's National Working Committee wants the DA read the Riot Act over its alleged continuous defiance of the government of national unity.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the show on this beautiful Tuesday morning, the 8th day of April. Thank you for joining us here on 702. How are you doing this morning? Are you having a hectic day today? Is it a lazy day? All the best with whatever plans you have, vandag. On the show today, well, as always, we'll start with the 702 open line this hour. You can call on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. If you want to send your comment on YouTube as you watch us live, you're welcome to do that. I will read some of your comments from there. Remember, you can watch the show live. Watch what's happening in studio on YouTube. Go to the 702 YouTube page if you want to watch and listen at the same time. Was ActionSA duped by the ANC? It's becoming clearer and clearer that that may have been the case. I think ActionSA has been deceived. I think they have been tricked by the ANC. Tricked into believing that the finance minister will rework his budget and remove the VAT hike before it gets implemented on the 1st of May. What confirms this for me are the statements that have been made by ANC leaders and other GNU partners about VAT being a temporary measure. It appears the ANC and other GNU partners, except the DA, of course, are clear and resolved on the VAT hike. And ActionSA is the only party that still somehow hopes that the finance minister will come back with another plan. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm going to demonstrate to you why I believe this in a few minutes. A part of me believes that the ANC played ActionSA. Another part of me believes ActionSA knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that VAT will go up, that they can't stop it, but they were playing the long game. I don't know what their intention was behind the move, if the latter is what they went with. ActionSA was so insistent on the fact that come the 1st of May, VAT doesn't come into effect. In fact, they still insist on that. But Rise Mzansi, the IFP, and other parties in the GNU have accepted that it will come and be temporary. But that's not what ActionSA signed up for. The more I look at the legislation, the more I realize the impracticality of reversing VAT within 3 weeks. I don't know how ActionSA explains this to its voters. The same voters that it released a statement and tweeted, "We saved you from VAT." Come the 1st of May, what are they going to say to their supporters? Are they going to say, "We lied to you"? "Oh, sorry, we were played"? For their sake, and honestly for the sake of South Africans, I do hope that the ANC lives up to its promise to ActionSA. What do you think is at play here? I'm going to demonstrate to you shortly why I've taken the stance that I'm taking, which is what I believe, that ActionSA has been tricked. Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, we're going to have a conversation with the National Taxi Alliance. A lot of you have asked that we bring in the taxi industry for a conversation. So the whole hour we'll be discussing issues you have been concerned about involving the taxi industry, whether it's the taxi violence, the taxi driving behavior on the road, their drivers' behavior on the road, their harassment of motorists who hitchhike, issues around taxes, formalizing the taxi industry, you name it. This is an opportunity for you to raise any other issue that you've always wanted to raise with the taxi bosses. So that's between 10 and 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we're going to do our World of Work feature. And today, we're going to be discussing when to know it's time to walk away from a job or profession. How do you know this is it? It's not uncommon for someone to want to leave their job or profession. In fact, more people are quitting their jobs and changing industries in search for better opportunities than in years past. So what considerations do you make before deciding, okay, this is it, I'm leaving this profession or I'm leaving this job? We're going to help you as if you are maybe a person that's deciding or thinking of changing their job or profession. That's at 11. 11:30, we're going to focus on autism. This month is World Autism Awareness Month. So we'll be telling you about, especially some of you that are raising children or some of you that have this condition. That's a conversation at 11:30. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Hello, my brother. Good morning. I hear you are saying that what if the ActionSA was played by the ANC? But what if the ActionSA knew that they were being played? Because these parties, isn't it that they do consultations with economists, with legal people when they take these decisions. So what if ActionSA knew what was happening and them and the ANC concocted a story or dynamics that they were going to give to the public so that the voters of the ActionSA do not get disappointed at ActionSA for changing their stance on working with the ANC? So what if they knew that there's no turnaround? Once the budget is approved, it's approved. Did they just wanted to use this as a way to get into the GNU and make sure that DA leaves? So I'm of the view that ActionSA knew. They've done consultations. They knew what's going to happen.
Hi, Clement. I feel like ActionSA was not doomed. They knew exactly what they were putting themselves into, but they just needed a statement just to make the followers to think as if they are being doomed, but they know exactly what's going on. They know who is ANC. Herman knows exactly what is ANC. So, but they were just doing it for the sake of cooling down people, trying to look as if it's a mistake. It is something that has been caused by accident, but eventually they know who is ANC and they know ANC. You can tell Herman Mashaba knows exactly what is ANC. So he knows what he's doing. They were not doomed. They put themselves in that position because they knew exactly how the game is going.
Regarding Action SA backing the ANC's budget, I had very high hopes and high regard for Herman Mashaba, but I think since his exit from the DA, he's struggling with an issue that he has got resentment towards the DA. And it seems to me, if I look at the decisions he's made consequently, that he is making emotional decisions in a way to get back at the DA, to show that he's got power over them, that he can thwart their plans, etc. So, to be honest, even if you look at Herman's post on X, etc., I am concerned that he's making decisions from the wrong space. He's not thinking about all South Africans. He's very much motivated by his desire to get back at the DA. Something's not right in terms of how Herman is approaching things at the moment.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
All right, so 16 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let me explain to you why I think ActionSA has been played here. It's been tricked. And I really hope that I'm wrong. Trust me. In fact, I pray that I'm wrong. But everything else is suggesting otherwise. There's something strange that happened last week after this report was passed in Parliament. This proposal that the finance minister is going to have these 30 days to go and rework the budget, right? After that budget or that report was passed, the ANC released a statement. And as soon as the ANC released a statement, I went through it. I read it 3 times. I read it the first time and I thought, oh my goodness, something is strange here. I read it for the second time. And then I realized in that statement the ANC has released that the statement doesn't, first of all, the statement is on the adoption of the fiscal framework, right? But it doesn't acknowledge that Minister Dongwana must produce a revised budget without a VAT increase, as promised to ActionSA. In fact, the ANC on that statement was calling on all sectors of society to work together in the implementation of the people's budget. And I say that in quotes, the people's budget. That statement doesn't even mention the 30 days for the finance minister to rework the budget, which is what was discussed in the finance committee last week. In fact, the ANC talks about advocating for the expansion of VAT exemptions on essential goods. So when I realized this, I started just having chats with some of my colleagues. I'm like, did you guys pick this up? I went and I tweeted it. As soon as I tweeted it, then ActionSA picked up my tweet. They realized what's going on. They started talking to the ANC and they told the ANC, what's going on? Why have you released a statement that doesn't acknowledge the deal that we have? And then the ANC the next day puts up a different statement. And the ANC in that statement then acknowledges that this is what's going to be happening in the next 30 days. Now, that's the first thing. I let it go because I thought, oh, this thing has been resolved. Actually, maybe the ANC just made a mistake. They forgot to include this crucial element, which is an agreement that was reached between the ANC and ActionSA. Fine, let it go. And then I started listening to politicians and what they are saying about this particular issue over the last couple of days. Listen to what President Cyril Ramaphosa said when he was in Soweto. And I like just, when I read statements, I want to, especially when it's politicians, there's a reason politicians put a comma here. There's a reason why they put an apostrophe here. There's a reason why they the tone of the statement will be in a particular way, because it's politics. And what I've always enjoyed to do is to read statements and try and understand the tone and what message they're trying to send. And even when the politicians speak, that's what I like doing. I want to listen to how are they saying it? What are they saying? What could it mean beyond what they want me to think what they're saying means? So first of all, listen to what the president said this weekend.
The resolution that was taken by the Finance Committee was that there will be a 30-day period during which Treasury will examine whether there are other options other than through a VAT increase where we can fill the gap of about 13.5 billion rand. So that has been left for discussion and examination. And in the end, we will look at all ways and means of seeing whether that is possible or not. From current examination, Treasury has said, having looked at various areas where they can look, that it doesn't seem to be so. However, the proposal from the various parties is being taken very seriously, and that process will be engaged in for the next 30 days, and it is only thereafter that a report will be available and will be presented that we will be able to take the matter forward.
So that's the president, right? Saying from the current examinations, Treasury has said, we've looked at other ways. There's no other way we can actually raise additional revenue without this VAT increase. But they're going to go and look at ways. Guys, remember here, there was a 2 percentage point VAT increase that was proposed. Shot down. Treasury had to go back, look at other ways. They came back, I think probably proposed a 1% increase. But Cabinet still said, They went back, 0.5% VAT increase. So already in that statement, I could hear that the president is actually saying, these people have gone and looked. Sure, we've promised ActionSA that they'll go and look at other ways. We'll see what that report says, but the current examinations are clear. I listened to what his deputy said yesterday. Paul Mashatile. Do you have that clip, Abel? The new one? Paul Mashatile. Listen to what Paul Mashatile said yesterday about the issue of VAT.
We've already missed the 1st of April because that's when the budget must kick in. So we pushed it back to the 1st of May just to give parties a bit of time to see is there something else we can do. But we are not married to VAT as a lifetime thing. It's really just to cross this bridge now. We think that we can push growth beyond 3% of GDP in this next 3 years.
You hear that? We are not married to VAT as a lifetime thing. We need it, mark those words, we need it just to cross this bridge now. We need it just to cross this bridge now. That's the deputy president of this country, the deputy president of a party that went and promised ActionSA that the finance minister is going to come back with a reworked budget. He says, we need this VAT now, and then the economy will grow and there can be reconsiderations. Okay, maybe you don't believe the president, you don't believe the deputy. Take a listen to Rise Mzansi, which is part of the GNU, because they know what they signed up for.
Whether the DA it's in or it's not in, it's neither here nor there. I just have to say that there's always this assumption, even from the commentariat, that for South Africa to succeed at all times, the DA must be part of government. That's not true. We don't believe that to be true. So we'll continue to work. South Africa will continue to work. There's government in this country. There's parliament in this country. It will continue to work. So if the DA wants to be in opposition, wants to align itself with the MK and EFF, that is their business. For us in the GNU, we are committed to make the GNU work. And for people will be shocked what will come out. We're very confident that this VAT increase will be a temporary measure. So
there you have it. He says we're confident that this VAT increase will be what? A temporary measure. It's coming on the 1st of May. All the other parties in the GNU who voted for this know this. That's why Rise Mzansi says we are confident this VAT increase will be temporary. When it comes, it won't be for too long because they will grow the economy and then we can then take it back. That's Rise Mzansi. What about the IFP? Let me play you the last clip from the IFP president himself, speaking yesterday, confirming what the IFP are saying, confirming what Paul Mashatile said yesterday.
The IFP is anti-VAT increases. This remains our position. And while this VAT increase is not desirable, we support this budget under prevailing circumstances and with conditions. The first of such is that the VAT increase must be temporary and must be done away with as soon as more viable economic income streams are secured.
Did you hear that? The IFP supports that it must be temporary. So my question then is, why is ActionSA the only party that seems to somehow live in this illusion, this dream that the finance minister is coming back with a reworked budget, when the deputy president himself talks of a temporary VAT hike? When the other parties like Rise Mzansi and the IFP, and I could play you other clips, we just don't have time because I want to go to your calls and WhatsApps. Other parties who say we support this VAT increase for now, as long as we are going to re-look at it. But ActionSA was promised that before, in the next 30 days, the finance minister is going to come back with a report, with a budget that's reworked that removes a 0.5 percentage hike. Now, here's something else that's also important you need to note. National Treasury went ahead and introduced the Rates and Monetary Amounts and Amendment of Revenue Laws Bill just this past Friday. It was by notice in the Government Gazette. That draft bill, as it was published, provides for the highly disputed value-added tax. That's VAT increase. Provides for the expansion of the list of zero-rated items, the increases in sin taxes and adjustments to tax brackets. In fact, it was on the 12th of March, this Gazette. Remember, ActionSA proposed a 30-day window period in which to find alternative revenue proposals to VAT increase and higher income tax for individuals through bracket creep in exchange for its yes to that vote. The question now is, does ActionSA actually know that it voted in favor of the fiscal framework containing that VAT and other steel tax increases I mentioned? Do they realize the increases are actually contained in that draft bill? Oh, and here's another interesting point. Parliament is on recess. So it's not just going to take a finance minister who comes and says, take away that VAT. No, there must be a new bill that's introduced that's going to see through the reversal of that 0.5 percentage hike in VAT. But Parliament is in recess for 2 weeks until after the Easter weekend. So do you have any memory of Parliament where it was able to pass a bill within a month? Maybe you can remind me of that. So ActionSA seems to be adamant that no VAT on the 1st of May. That's what we were promised. But if you look at the practicality of the 1st of May coming and somehow there's a removal of VAT, it doesn't look so. And that's why I think they've been played, they've been tricked, or they knew what they were doing and they lied to you. What do you think? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Hey, good morning, Clement. Honestly, ActionSA knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. They knew, or they know, that by the 1st of May, VAT will increase. They just didn't want DA to get their way, probably because of what happened between the two of them before the elections. But in all honesty, what ActionSA offered the ANC, DA could have offered that as well. But DA chose to ask for things that do not have anything to do with the budget. So, I mean, in short, ActionSA knew, bro. They knew what they're getting themselves into. They were not tricked.
Morning, Clement. I think the ActionSA knew exactly what they put themselves into. They actually wanted to sneak in the GNU. So they thought if they vote with the ANC on this matter, then the DA will be kicked out automatically. So now they are really played. They are really played. I believe they are played, but they know exactly what they were doing.
All right, that takes us to exactly 9:30. Time for the latest in Eyewitness News. Sindile, I know you've been holding for a while. I'll start with your call after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Your WhatsApps as well on 0727021702. I'll bring in the leader of ActionSA, Herman Mashaba, as well after the headlines. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The DA is likely to continue with its wait-and-see approach to the current impasse with its Government of National Unity partner, the ANC. Last night, the DA's Federal Executive Committee met to discuss a way forward. The party has held FedEx meetings over recent weeks, leading up to and post the vote of the fiscal framework in the National Assembly. As homes along the swollen banks of the Vaal River continue to flood, an environmental expert says an earlier warning may have lessened the impact. Rising water levels from the overflowing Vaal Dam have wreaked havoc to homes and businesses in low-lying areas. At the weekend, the Water Department opened a fifth sluice gate after the dam surged to 106% capacity, raising the risk of localized flooding. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed for the first time that his forces are operating in Russia's Belgorod region, where Moscow reported attacks last month. Belgorod is regularly the target of Ukrainian air attacks and is close to Russia's Kursk region, where Ukrainian forces have been desperately hanging on to territory since launching a surprise incursion last year. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading towards the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic in the Boysons area. This is a M1 northbound between Boysons Road and the Crown Interchange. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic if you are leaving Tembisa heading towards OR Tambo International Airport. That's the R21 southbound between the R25 Pastfontein off-ramp and the R23 Pinoni off-ramp. If you're traveling towards Midrand, leaving the Sunning Hill area, traffic is also a bit slow. This is on the N1 northbound between the Patrol Interchange and Allendale Road. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Randburg and Malibongo Drive and Mahogany, as well as in Rand Park Ridge at Bayers Nodia and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Research has shown that 43% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the time we get to the 1st of February. Why do you think that is, and how can we stop the high drop-off rate?
We say that life happens. We're all living these rushed, crazy lives at the moment, and that's probably one of the most main reasons. We need to reframe exercise, because exercise as a word is just a functional thing. It's like, okay, I have to exercise.
Tim Carter is the head of brand at Planet Fitness.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Did you know you have the right to fair treatment when it comes to your finances? If you're not treated fairly, you can complain anytime. And if it's not resolved, the Financial Sector Ombud System can step in to help for free in any South African language. And you don't even need a lawyer. Got a pension fund issue? Well, reach out to the pension fund's adjudicator. Bad financial advice? The FIS Ombud is there. Banking, credit, or insurance disputes? Approach the National Financial Ombud. They're all backed by the Ombud Council, so you're in good hands.
World Sports Betting puts the excitement of Vegas in the palm of your hand. Bet on thousands of markets daily or try your luck on hundreds of games and you could become an instant millionaire. Register today at wsb.co.za and get your first deposit matched up to a massive 20,000 Rand. World Sports Betting. Bet with the best. Licensed by Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No person under the age of 18 permitted to gamble. NRGP toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008. Winners know when to stop.
Dreaming of your next getaway? Whether it's a sun-soaked beach escape, adventure-packed tour, or luxury cruise, Flight Centre is your go-to for travel. From flights and hotels to tours and cruises, we've got it all. Plus travel insurance for peace of mind. If you want the best deals, you can save more by taking advantage of our Bundle Plus Save offer. Plan your trip today at your nearest Flight Centre store or visit flightcentre.co.za. Flight Centre, your centre for travel.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient one-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age, or now also in a no-water-needed, fruity-flavoured sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and flemmings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Do you think the ANC is going to do it? Will they remove the DA? Clearly, Paul Mashatile would like them to.
If they are contemplating it, it wouldn't be the ideal thing to do. The ANC need to continue to be perceived to be a party that is prudent in terms of its choice of political allies.
Dr. Ngamram Timka, Acting Director at the Raymond and Flaber Centre for Governance and Leadership.
The Money Show
on 702. 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show on 702 with Stephen Grootes is proudly brought to you by ActionSA CIB. Honored by the 2025 Salter Awards. Your story matters. ActionSA is a registered FSP.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
24 minutes before 10 o'clock. Cindy, Le, Fernando, I'll start with you guys in a moment. I want to quickly bring in Herman Mashaba, who is the leader of ActionSA. Mr. Mashaba, thanks for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and thank you for the opportunity to happen to be driving from Midrand, listening to you with your analysis, and I'm happy to assist you.
Please assist me, Mr. Mashaba, because I think that you have been tricked by the ANC. I don't think you saw it coming. You thought that the ANC is going to come back with a reworked budget before the 1st of May. And I've played the listeners some clips here where Paul Mashatile says this temporary vet is necessary, but as soon as the economy improves, it will be changed. I played a clip of the IFP, of Rise Mzansi, of the president. So it looks like you are the only people here that somehow believe that there's going to be a removal of vet before the 1st of May.
Well, it's unfortunate, Clement, if political parties mandated by the public to represent them in Parliament, they vote for reports that they do not understand. Please have a look at the report tabled by ActionSA as a proposal in the Finance Committee on the 1st, and to really look at the very same report presented and voted in Parliament on the 2nd. So it's unfortunate if people voted for what they did not understand. It is not ActionSA's the problem; it's their problem. If people are just voting cattle, then let it really be. Then South Africans must really decide. ActionSA stand by the proposal which was voted in the committee, was voted in Parliament. And one thing that we made it really abundantly clear to the ANC that in the event they're looking at other options, it is their choice. It's not our choice. We gave them a solution on how we can address this matter and ensure that there's no vet on the 1st of May. If they fail to meet those deadlines, Clement, is not going to be our problem, because you must understand on Wednesday in Parliament is not the budget that was voted, it was the framework, the fiscal framework. So this budget is going to go into divisional financial committees, which must be voted in by Parliament. If the ANC thought they tricked us, then I can assure you, and we've said this to many times in South Africa, including my interview with you. In the event ANC renege on this arrangement, then they must go and find someone now to vote the actual budget. They must go and look for other parties to vote with them to get the budget, because without ActionSA's the votes, they will not get the support of the actual budget. This is the fiscal framework which was approved. And ActionSA on Sunday, we worked throughout after they supported our proposal. We've given the Minister of Finance is only looking for 28 billion rands. We've given them on Sunday afternoon proposal to the tune of 110 billion rands of what they can use to replace those 28 billion. If they're not interested in implementing those cost-cutting, saving measures and so forth, it is up to them. They can forget. Let's see now how they're going to now. When we get to the budget, who's going to?
Okay, Mr. Mashaba, let's look at what was voted on, right? You speak about a proposal. When I spoke to you last week on the SABC, I said to you, these things don't get amended, obviously, by just mere recommendations or proposal. The document that was voted in has a 0.5 percentage clause. The agreement with the ANC was not something...
It's not with the ANC. It's voted in by Parliament.
Yeah, but you spoke to the ANC first. You know what I mean? You spoke to the ANC first. You reached an agreement. You went to Parliament. Yes, but I'm saying the agreement between you and the ANC was that we will get the finance minister to do this. And then once the ANC said, cool, you came back and said, okay, cool, let's work on a proposal. It went to Parliament. It was passed by Parliament. Are you aware as ActionSA that the National Treasury went ahead and introduced the rates and monetary amounts and amendment of revenue laws bill on that Friday? I think it was, I don't remember the date. On the Friday, it was a notice of government. So that draft bill that was published provides for this highly disputed value-added tax increase. Are you aware of that as ActionSA?
Well, what I'm saying is to you, Clement, and your listeners, at the end of the day, budget is passed by politicians in Parliament. National Treasury takes instructions from Parliament that votes for that budget. Until such time that a new bill is introduced, and ANC has got the responsibility to ensure that before the 1st of May they bring in a new bill. And I know, and you said I'm aware, Parliament is on recess, but they are back on the 21st before.
That's 10 days before the 1st of May, Mr. Mashaba. Whenever have you seen Parliament? You do know that you are not just going to reverse the 0.5. One second. One second. I want to say that. Let me ask this question this way. You do know that you need a new bill for you to be able to reverse that 0.5 percentage hike. You do know that, because it's not just a finance minister who comes and says, oh, we're taking away that VAT. You need a new bill. When have you ever seen Parliament pass a new bill within 10 days?
Well, I'm saying it's to you, Clement, it is not ActionSA's problem. It is the ANC's problem, because if they did not accept our proposal on Tuesday and Wednesday, South Africa will be today without budget. Are you aware about that? Let me actually start there. Are you aware that if our proposal in the committee was not accepted, if our proposal was not accepted in Parliament on Wednesday, are you aware South Africa will be without VAT? And without VAT, automatically VAT was going to be in place. Are you aware about that situation? Because obviously all the other parties, particularly the DA, what they were proposing was for the Minister of Finances to go and start the process all over again, which will go beyond the 1st of May. But after, based on the VAT Act of 1991, VAT was going to be implemented 1st of May. That is what we were trying to really avoid.
Mr. Mashaba.
And it's up to the ANC to really deal with this matter.
Okay. Mr. Mashaba, are you convinced that Parliament is on recess, They are back on the 22nd. In fact, it's the 22nd until the 25th of April. And then they go on another break immediately because of the long weekend. Are you telling the listeners this morning that between the 22nd and the 25th of April, somehow there's going to be a new bill that's introduced, and that new bill that reverses the 0.5 percentage VAT hike is somehow going to be passed by Parliament in those couple of days?
But okay, Clement, then follow what ActionSA has always said, and I'm saying to you right now, we've been really very clear that in the event that the ANC renege on this, now it's up to them to really deal with the actual division of the financial budget come the next few months, weeks and months. So they can forget about ActionSA.
But you allowed them. You allowed them to pass this thing. You didn't vote for a proposal. You voted for a bill that contains the percentage VAT hike. You allowed them to increase the 0.5 percentage hike.
But please just use your common sense. I'm saying to you, if ever we did not come out with this intervention, VAT was going to be implemented. If ever the Minister of Finance, if Parliament on Wednesday that said to the Minister of Finance, go back to the drawing board to go and rework your budget, start from scratch, VAT was going to be effective from the 1st of May. Are you aware about that?
I am, but I'm saying you created an impression that somehow you've won. You went and tweeted, we saved you, South Africa, from a 0.5 percentage hike. What I'm trying to show you is that it's actually impractical for VAT to be removed before the 1st of May. And I wonder what you're going to say to your voters come the 1st of May, your supporters, if that's not removed.
To my voters, I'm saying to you and the people of South Africa what we've always said, that in the event ANC renege on the agreement we had with them and which they supported in the Finance Committee, they supported in Parliament. If ever they renege on that South Africa can tell you in the coming months is not going to really have the budget. The Minister of Finance has got to start all over again, and VAT will be applicable. Then they would have not really betrayed us. They would have betrayed you and the people of South Africa.
Time is running out, Mr. Mashaba. The 1st of May is coming. Many of us have received emails from our banks where we are told that VAT gets implemented from the 1st of May. Government tweeted itself that VAT comes in on the 1st of May. The ANC tweeted a statement, which you guys have seen. You responded to it, to my Twitter, my tweet about a week ago. So time is running out. The question now is, as ActionSA, as we speak right now, are you confident? Do you have any commitment from the ANC? Have they met you and said to you, Mr. Mashaba, don't worry, forget about the noise. We are going to make sure there's a removal of this VAT hike?
Well, it is for that reason they accepted and voted for our proposal.
What have they said to you now?
It's not a fiction. It's not a fiction. It's something that happened in Parliament in front of the whole nation. They supported our proposal. They voted for it. They did not just support it. They voted for it in the committee. They voted for it in Parliament. So if they renege on this, it is not going to be a betrayal of ActionSA. They will be betraying the people of South Africa. And what is going to be interesting, without ActionSA's support, I wonder how they're going to now pass the real budget, because here we passed the fiscal the framework. Now it's going to really be interesting. Now let them take the consequences of their inaction or indecisiveness. Because here we needed a political party that can make a concrete decision. When you deal with matters like this, you make sure that there's commitment. And we advised the ANC when we came out with this proposal. We said, guys, please be proactive in communicating the process of what's going to transpire. But they decided to play games, saying different things. And we just really kept quiet, because we know we have the power to decide whether their budget is going to pass or not. And I can assure you, if they're going to continue with their VAT, then let them go and get their support from MP.
They probably will, Mr. Mashaba, because all they needed right now is to go through this hurdle. So they used you as ActionSA to go through the first hurdle. They're probably gonna fix things with the DA, and then they're gonna continue with their GNU. Are you aware? Last question.
But then it's exactly then precisely, Clement. That will mean VAT will apply regardless. VAT will be effective if ANC does not implement what they voted for on Wednesday. VAT will apply on.
But they would have used you to try and go through that first hurdle first. They promised you.
But no,
they gave you drinks.
Tell me, okay. Tell me, what did they achieve?
They've achieved that first hurdle of passing it from. They made you think that you're going to vote for a proposal, but you actually voted.
It's a fiscal policy framework. It's not the budget that was passed.
No, the document you voted on has a 0.5% clause in Parliament.
Yes.
Yes, so the vote, you didn't just vote for a proposal that says we're going to rework. What you voted for in Parliament, that has a 0.5% VAT.
Clement, then use another logic. If ever we did not agree on this plan that we presented to the ANC, that Parliament had to say to the Minister of Finance, go back and rework your budget. The VAT was going to be applicable on the 1st of May. That's something that you need to really take into consideration.
That's true, and I've taken that into consideration. My point is your involvement and your agreement doesn't change that. It's still going to be applicable on the 1st of May.
Well, but if ANC is committed to this process, they can make things happen. If they don't make things happen, and we've been really very clear about this. We said to South Africans, and we are still saying to South Africans, it is possible. We've presented, and in the event they don't implement our suggestions, we will make them public so that you can see how we wanted to save South Africa from overburden of VAT and this income tax bracket. Then it's up to ANC to accept the consequences.
All right. Herman Mashaba, leader of ActionSA, thank you so much for making time. ANC must accept the consequences, he says. What are your thoughts? It's 9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Max, Ephraim, Fernando, I'll start with you after this.
The roar of the crowd, the thrill of clay court tennis, and the magic of Paris could all be yours. Destinations by Frasers, in collaboration with Delcy Paris and Air France, is giving you a once-in-a-lifetime chance to witness the Men's French Open final with tickets and return flights for two. Purchase any Delcy luggage from Destinations by Frasers or Frasers stores this April to enter. Destinations by Frasers, South Africa's premium choice in luggage. Visit us in-store or online at destinations.za.com. Paris is calling. Will you answer?
When last did you shop around for a real deal on your car insurance? Switch to OUTsurance and you could save big every month. Gordon, who is a 44-year-old man, is a real OUTsurance client who saves a mind blogging 2,794 Rand a month on his 2019 Ford Everest 2-litre automatic. Isn't it time you got the real deal? Don't pay more. Switch and save today. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. With OUTsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSB. T's and C's online.
You're inside the all-new Jator X70 Plus, and you're feeling what luxury should feel like. Pleasant, isn't it? Every button, every control just seems to be exactly where you'd like it to be. Almost as if it was made to fit you and you alone. Take your seat in a Jator X70 Plus and experience the place where comfort meets luxury from only 5,199 per month. Book a test drive at jator.coza. T's and C's apply. Jator. Drive your future.
702 was in conversation with Altron,
Celebrating 60 years of solving real-world problems
and discussing their plans to rebuild
and re-energize Johannesburg
through partnership and collaboration.
Yeah, it's a real privilege. You know, I'm only the fourth CEO in the 60-year history of Altron. We transitioned, obviously, my predecessor, a well-known gentleman who now chairs Eskom, Tetu Nyati, who we were also privileged to have with us last night. He really did that sort of professionalization of the business in 2017, moving from a family to the kind of business it is today. So I think it's really a great privilege for me to lead this business and to be part of this business that has stood, I guess, the ups and downs of both Joburg and the South African economy over the last 60 years.
Visit Altron.com for more info.
Altron, a technology industry leader since 1965.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
6 minutes before 10 o'clock. Fernando, you are in Germiston. Good morning.
Clement, hi, good morning.
Sure, go ahead.
What a great show.
Thank you, sir.
I've just listened to this interview. I actually cannot believe what I've heard. If I was Herman Mashaba now, and Mr. Trollip and Mr. Bowman, I'd actually step down. It's laughable. It's laughable. You cannot script it. So, three parties. I've actually lost my train of thought, but ActionSA, Ryzen Zanzi, and Musi Maimani realized that the GNU actually captured the hope of South Africa. Lots of bumps along the road, and they found themselves up in the cold. The DA efficiency was there for everybody, McPherson carrying on, whatever. Yes, the politics carry on. The ANC being kept in check and still trying to appease. But these guys have been played by the ANC to a T.
Yeah, Fernando, I really hope we're wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. In fact, I pray that I am wrong. But everything else points me to the impracticality of that being avoided come the 1st of May. And the fact that Herman Mashaba and the leaders of ActionSA still are buying this dream the ANC is selling them, even though Paul Mashatile, the deputy president, says this thing is necessary, this VAT hike, it will be temporary. All the other parties of the GNU, except the DA, of course, are like, yeah, this is necessary, but when the economy improves, then we'll take it back. But ActionSA still seems to believe in this dream that the finance minister is going to fly from heaven, like, ooh, with wings, holding a nice document of budget that says, no VAT hike. It's actually not funny. Max, you're in Midrand. Good morning.
Morning, Clement. And believe me, you are not right. You are spot on. This bad thing is going ahead. We've already seen in many other publications and many other businesses have already sent out messages confirming that this VAT increase is going to change their fee structures on their end as well. So very disappointing from Mr. Mashaba, and indeed him and Trollip and many others who waited for these things. And Mashaba stands on the radio and tells the nation people are signing things that they don't understand. And he's making it sound like he really, really had a better understanding of exactly what he was signing for. Clearly, he was played by the ANC, and that is the reality where we are now. He was played by the ANC. That fiscal framework, it provided details of what exactly is going to happen. And one of the things, and you keep pressing him on this issue, and he is just very much in denial, this 0.5 percentage VAT increase is happening on the 1st of May. He is the one who lacked understanding of exactly what he is signing for, him and many other political parties.
All right, Max, I got you. Ephraim, in Alex, quickly. Good morning.
Clement, how's it?
Sure, brother. Go ahead.
Mr. Herman Mashaba came to Alex and recruit us and tell how ANC, they are crooks, they are stealing money. Today he voted for that tax, the VAT to be increased. Now he don't know what he signed for. How, Mr. Mashaba? I'm so disappointed about him. I'm very, very disappointed. And you ask him a question that, how did you vote for something that you said is not going to be implemented? It's going to be implemented, yes. Mr. Mashaba, he must forget about us at Alexander Watt 76. I'm giving him a honey. We are no longer voting for ActionSA in Alex. We have talked about it yesterday and the day before yesterday that ActionSA is go away. We are no longer working with you, Herman. You must know that we don't no more come to Alex. We are no longer your people.
All right, Ephraim in Alex, thank you for your call. Guys, to be clear, VAT was always going to be implemented even though there was going to be an agreement or not, right? So when you look at Section 7 of the VAT Act, it says that the date was already proclaimed The difference here is that ActionSA came and acted like, we are the hero. We've just saved you from VAT. That's the thing. So the problem here is not that, VAT wasn't going to be implemented. No, that's not the fault of ActionSA. It was going to be implemented. The challenge, though, is they came and they were sold the dream and they bought it. And the ANC was able to go over this first hurdle they had in Parliament, in that committee, and in the National Assembly during that vote.
At 7:02,
we are proud of a lot of things.
but none more than our connection to you.
Because we know when we walk the talk,
We're never alone.
I had been waiting so long for UIF for 18 months, and Kabazela and John Perlman had somebody from UIF on. And you know what? I finally got paid, and I just want to say it's actually saved my life. So 702, thank you, and you reach far and wide to all people.
Every SMS,
voice note,
email,
phone call,
your every word leads to action.
that changes lives, changes minds, uplifts communities, and holds authority to account.
Together, we've turned dialogue into good deeds.
And promises into progress.
Yes, we did that. You and 702. So, stay tuned.
Because if this is how far we've come, imagine how much further we can go.
When we stick together, 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Don't miss out. The Powerball jackpot is estimated at a staggering 110 million rand this Tuesday. You heard right. Play Powerball now for your chance at an estimated 110 million rand jackpot, and you could become Mzansi's next big winner. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the National Lottery mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
When you're out there hustling, juggling the calls and meetings, making the next buck, doing the next job, growing your business with blood, sweat, and tears, you need tech solutions that will help you get things done. And that's why you should visit mtnbusiness.co.za or go to an MTN store near you, because you'll find the tech solutions you need to level up your business and make your life easier, so you can get back to doing what you do best, the hustle. Today, we make moves. MTN.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? With personalized solutions tailored to your audacious goals. African Bank is more than just a bank. We are your partner in progress. Because when you grow, we grow. Join the bank that backs you. Visit our branch or go online to join. African Bank, audacity to believe. African Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. ActionSA says it's premature to suggest it will join the government of national unity after supporting the ANC in getting the fiscal framework passed in Parliament. With the DA's time in the GNU set to be fading fast after an ANC working committee meeting yesterday called for heads to roll, ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba says he's not about to consider an invite to the cabinet table until the VAT increase is withdrawn. The DA and Freedom Front Plus failed to toe the GNU line last week, voting against the fiscal framework. The VAT rates will increase to 15.5% next month, which ActionSA wants stopped before it considers any further political steps. Lindsay Dentlinga reports.
While the DA hangs on to see whether the ANC will be pulling the plug on their partnership, ActionSA says it's not about to step into the breach. Party leader Herman Mashaba says he will not give any thought to such a proposal, which has not been made by the ANC, until the VAT increase and income tax bracket creep matters have been resolved. While it appears highly unlikely the Finance Minister can make legislative amendments to the VAT matter within the tight time frame, ActionSA says it submitted to him over the weekend alternative revenue proposals that can generate 100 billion rand. EWN understands that the ANC has called a meeting of political parties tonight to discuss their budget alternatives. ActionSA says it only supported last week's budget blueprint to protect South Africans from the national budget being used as a political football. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, the DA is likely to continue with its wait-and-see approach to the current impasse with its Government of National Unity partner, the ANC. Last night, the DA's Federal Executive Committee met to discuss a way forward, and the party has held FedEx meetings over recent weeks, leading up to and post the vote of the fiscal framework. 12 members of the party serve in the coalition government. Tsidi Madia takes a look.
According to DA insiders, the party is now sitting pretty, waiting out its time as it looks to the ANC's next move. EWN understands majority of the DA members serving as ministers and deputies are ready to call it quits, despite confirmation that the ANC has approached the parties seeking to restart coalition negotiations. They claim this time around, the ANC wants to have a formal conversation about power sharing. Co-governance is the crux of the deadlock between the two parties, with the DA accusing the ANC of often sidelining its GNU partners on crucial matters of national importance. Another DA FedEx member has told EWN that it's concluded that the ANC is incapable of making decisions, including whether to retain or kick the DA out of the GNU. The ANC's negotiations team has until the end of the week to meet with coalition partners. CD Madia, Eyewitness News.
As homes along the swollen banks of the Vaal River continue to flood, an environmental expert says an earlier warning may have lessened the impact. Rising water levels from the overflowing Vaal Dam have wreaked havoc to homes and businesses in low-lying areas. Over the weekend, the Water Department opened a fifth sluice gate after the dam surged to over 106% capacity, raising the risk of localized flooding. Mongezi Koko takes a look.
Panicked residents and business owners are bracing for potential damage similar to the destructive floods seen in 2023. Many believe the decision to open a fifth sluice gate came too late, a view shared by environmental expert Richard Meissner.
I don't see a disaster at this moment. They could have issued it maybe earlier, but they also react on the information available, the telemetric information that they receive from the Vaal Dam, the volume of water flowing through the sluice gates or over the dam wall. In future, one can maybe have such an early warning system in place.
With water levels still high, all 5 gates remain open and the threat of further flooding still looms. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed for the first time that his forces are operating in Russia's Belgorod region, where Moscow reported attacks last month. Belgorod is regularly the target of Ukrainian air attacks and is close to Russia's Kursk region, where Ukrainian forces have been desperately hanging on to territory since launching a surprise incursion last year. Zelensky says they are conducting an active operation in the border area and the war must return to where it came from. Gold is trading at $3,005, 1 cent an ounce. The rand is at 19.53 to the dollar, 24.92 to the pound, 21.38 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.92 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading towards OR Tambo International Airport coming from Tembisa, traffic is heavily backed up on the R21 southbound between the R25 Baffontein off-ramp and the R23 Benoni off-ramp. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Alberton area traveling towards Vereeniging. That's the R59 southbound between the N12 Reading Interchange and Swartkopies.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. ActionSA says it's premature to suggest it will join the Government of National Unity after supporting the ANC in getting the fiscal framework passed in Parliament.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela show. I just So a statement right now from Mmusi Maimane, who is also from a party, Build One South Africa, that voted for that fiscal framework in Parliament. The statement from Bossa says now, Build One South Africa will be holding a press briefing hosted by Mmusi Maimane to outline Bossa's next step in the national budget process. The ANC has called a meeting for tomorrow evening with all political parties who voted in support of the fiscal framework to consider submissions to plug the fiscal hole and avoid a VAT increase. Bossa will work with all parties committed to stopping a VAT increase and passing a workable budget that grows the economy and delivers for all South Africans. So today at 11 o'clock, oh, interesting. So Mmusi Maimane is going to have a briefing at the same time that the ANC is going to have a briefing. I think the ANC's briefing today following the NWC meeting yesterday. Wait, is it postponed? Oh no, that's the ANC Youth League. I want to read you the statement that the ANC released today. Yeah, today, Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, right? The 8th of April. Fikile Mbalula will be holding a media briefing at 11 o'clock. Well, Mmusi Maimane will also be holding a media briefing at 11 o'clock. Let's see how this is going to play out. I think all these other parties are going to find a way to justify why they voted so that they don't come across as if they were duped or played by the African National Congress. But let's be honest, they were. Any other party that voted for that fiscal framework with the hope that miraculously the finance minister within 30 days is going to come with a reworked budget was duped by the ANC. In fact, the IFP is very honest. They are saying, we know that VAT is going to come in. We are comfortable with that because we know that it's going to be a temporary measure. Rise Mzansi also says it's going to be a temporary measure. The deputy president says it's going to be a temporary measure. What does Mmusi Maimane say? What does ActionSA say? I took a bit of your time in the previous hour speaking to Herman Mashaba, so I want to make up for that. So I'm going to take more of your calls in the next 5 minutes or so before we start our conversation with the National Taxi Alliance. So give us a call on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps are on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement. The only one that's delusional is Herman Mashaba. Even Vodacom has already put up the VAT for next month. So maybe they should have a please call me to Vodacom to find out exactly what's going on. They're the only ones that were duped. Everybody else knew exactly what was happening.
You know, Clement, I don't know what that Herman is talking about. I just received a message from MTN. On the 1st of May, they are increasing my bill with 0.5. So I don't know why he sounds so quizzical. He sounds like encrypted, speak about big language, framework, fiscal. The VAT is going up on the 1st of May, Mr. Mashaba. I don't know. I don't even think you were tricked. You just don't understand what you were doing. Thank you.
Morning, Clement. I think ActionSA knew what they were doing. They play a long game. That's what they're doing. Because in every situation, you play a long game, especially in politics. They knew what they were doing. The problem, the ANC, they thought they were going to dupe ActionSA, but they didn't. They find now themselves in a corner because now if they don't do what ActionSA tell them that they must do, they have put themselves in a corner. Now they have to go back to the DA that they don't want to work with anymore to go and plead for them. Or they have to come back to the ActionSA, which ActionSA will say, no, we're not going to play with you anymore because you are trying to play us. I think they knew that's what they were doing, Clement.
Hi, Clement. Hope you're good. My view on this thing is Mashaba is grasping at straws. He's now realized he basically voted for a budget, for a VAT increase, even though he wanted to make it seem as though he put down conditions and whatnot. The fact of the matter is the ActionSA has voted for this thing, same like the PA. And for me, they basically complicit. And I don't know how they see that voting for this VAT was going to make South Africans' lives easier. That even though they increase more goods on the non-VAT list, it's not going to really benefit a lot of people. But yeah, so he's now trying to grasp at straws, and he's already done what he did. And I hope his voters can see it. I'm not a big fan of the DA, never have been, but they fought for it and they stood their ground, and I commemorate them for that. Whether I'll vote for them in the next elections, well, let's see. Time will tell.
And guys, to be fair, right? To be fair, ActionSA was probably negotiating in good faith. I honestly don't think. Remember, I gave you two scenarios. Either ActionSA was played here, they were duped and deceived by the ANC, or ActionSA knew exactly what they were doing and they just lied to their supporters. But they knew come the 1st of May, this VAT is going up. And I'm more believing the first than the latter. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think they negotiated in good faith. But they're negotiating with a party that wanted to get over this thing over the line because time is running out. They needed, in that finance committee meeting, they needed the votes. So just promise these guys that, don't worry, the finance minister is going to go and work his magic and come back to you in 30 days. And then now you hear what they say. They talk about, oh, this is going to be a temporary measure. But ActionSA must also take accountability. Like at some point, you're starting to look ridiculous. It's embarrassing for you to then want to still believe in a dream when some of the ANC leaders themselves are saying this VAT will be temporary. But you're still choosing to live in this dream of, oh, finance minister is going to come with a new reworked budget. And I hope he does, by the way. I really hope he does. I hope I am wrong. But it doesn't look like it. Parliament is on recess. They're back on the 22nd. 25th, they go again on a break. Do you think between the 22nd and the 25th, there's going to be a new bill that's introduced and then there's a reversal of VAT? Oh, please, man. Practically speaking, do you really think that's going to happen? Jermaine, you're going to be our last call in the Johannesburg South. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, Clement, I listened to that impromptu interview with Herman Mashaba, and there's one thing that is very clear to all of us here. ActionSA, Bossa, and I don't know the third party, they smelled the honey. And they thought that they would get in on the GNU. Their hope was that the DA gets kicked out, they come in. Mashaba said to you, he said that if they never vote or they never put their weight behind it, there would be no budget. But that's not the problem of ActionSA. That's a GNU problem. The voters voted for the ANC and the DA to work together. And if they cannot work together, ActionSA should not jump in and solve their problem. Because that's the problem of the ANC and the DA. By them coming in, there's only one thing clear. They smelled the honey, and so they thought, look, let's get in. DA comes out, we're going to come in. That's what it was. And now that the ANC is changing their tune now, they've got egg on their face. But that's really what they want to do. They cannot save South Africa because South Africa gave the GNU, the ANC and DA, the obligation to save whatever they can.
Yeah.
And all the other parts on the outside, they must stay just there. If the GNU fails and they're on the outside, then they will get credibility. They cannot get credibility for trying to save something, but the voters gave to work.
All right, Jermaine in the Johannesburg South. Thank you so much for making time. 17 minutes now after 10 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
All right, let's now change tack and focus on the taxi industry. There are a number of you that have contacted us asking that we bring in the taxi industry to have a conversation about a number of issues we've spoken about even before on the show. So we've invited the National Taxi Alliance following your requests. So this whole hour, we are going to be talking to them about issues that have concerned some of you, in the taxi industry, whether it's the taxi violence, the drivers' behavior on the roads, the harassment on motorists who hitchhike, issues around taxes, the issues of formalizing the taxi industry, you name it. So if you want to join this conversation, you've got some questions, any inputs, you can call us on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, you can send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Theo Malele is a member of the executive at the National Taxi Alliance, joining us in studio. Theo, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
I want to start off with perhaps something that happened yesterday in Soweto, because there are now concerns over whether or not we're seeing a resurgence of taxi violence. Are you aware of what happened in Soweto? What information are you able to share with us?
Yes, we learned as we marched yesterday into the day's activities that there were 3 members of one of our affiliates that had been gunned down by some heavy artillery, and the alleged perpetrators of this heinous crime were still on the run, and law enforcement agencies were actually in trying to get hold of them.
Mm. Sure. Why do you think, Theo, that this is how matters are resolved in the taxi industry? Because when there are disagreements, whether it's even disagreements with, buses or issues around trains, there's often violence that emerges. It's almost like this is an unspoken rule of how things are resolved.
Very true. I mean, the rules of engagements are such that, at some point you need to agree to disagree, and you end up finding solutions to the problems. I mean, no problem, can be unsurmountable. I mean, this country's problems, rather, were resolved, using a dialogue. So this actually showed us as people that the only best way of resolving our differences can be, utilizing dialogue, because what currently is gripping the country is unacceptable, and it does not even serve the purpose, because at the end of it all, they will still have to come back, sit down, and discuss a way forward. So there is no way that this, acts of violence would not beget other acts of violence. So it is just...
There's going to be a retaliation.
There's going to be a retaliation, it's going to be a retaliation. And it's just unfortunate that the industry is being characterized by this cloud of violence. And this has been happening from days in memoriam. Yeah. And this really seeks serious intervention. And if you begin to try and put your finger on the pulse as to what is this that is actually causing these people to get to such high tempers, one realizes that we all come from different backgrounds with different understandings and levels of understandings, for that matter. You actually realize that when you engage people in some serious, subject matter, and you see people nodding as if they actually are following suit with this that you are articulating, and only to realize that no, you've always been talking to yourself, and a lot of these people are actually lost in the mist, but they lack the courage to come out of their cocoons and say that we don't understand what's been said. I think people are kind of like afraid to ask questions, maybe thinking that they will be taken as fools. But the mere fact that they don't ask those questions, they then go out and act in a barbaric way.
So when you talk about an intervention that's needed, what kind of intervention? Because we've had the taxi violence summits. There've been interventions even from the side of government. So what else can be done? Because I'm just running out of ideas here of what could help really stem out this violence in the industry.
Yeah, Clement, I think we lost a golden opportunity. In 2019, the then MEC of Transport in Gauteng in particular, Mr. Jacob Mamabolo, had shown a great appetite of wanting to help the industry to get out of its doldrums. So, through our engagement, we had resolved in one of the discussions that we had at the time as an industry. Now, when I say as an industry, I mean this is Santaco and the National Taxi Alliance in one room and tackling issues as an industry. And that actually gave us an understanding that in the Gauteng province, the taxi industry needs to work, close together. We need to stop, pointing fingers and, separating one from the other. So that then helped us to come to an understanding that we needed, to come up with, resolutions that would bring about the necessary changes in the taxi industry. And one such came out of a commission commission that was, conducted by the taxi industry itself on taxi violence. One of its recommendations was that the government should assist the industry to appoint a retired judge to help look into this aspect of violence, because it was now becoming endemic. So the Jeremiah Shongwe was the judge that was appointed to conduct this investigation, and amongst others that he had revealed to be of concern was that the firearms that were used mostly were state-issued firearms, and
probably stolen, maybe, but
probably stolen or something.
Yeah.
And also that some of the processes that were undertaken in the issuance of operating licenses, left a lot to be desired. In that, if one were to paint a scenario, if you go and do your application of an operating license, your application will actually have to go through in excess of 26 people that will have to process this.
These people in government.
These people in
so
government.
This is when you want to operate
This is when you want to operate legally, know. And what then happens in this process is that there aren't sufficient, quality checks, so that you are able to nail those that are found with their hands in the cookie jar. And as a result, people can twist and turn things that will end up causing what we are currently facing today. We were also tasked to do a thorough investigation, and I so happened to have been part of the team that was given this task. We investigated this, we took a deep dive into it, and then realized that the issuance, rather, let me say, the operation in question in Soweto, WATA has been operating this since 1972, and there hasn't been any, hindrances ever since then. So all these fracas came into effect in the democratic dispensation because of the, licensing of the route, which was fraudulently done. Now, the said route was found to have been issued on a date of a weekend. So it happened on a weekend, meaning this is null and void. So we then pointed this out to the authorities, who then said that they were going to take decisive action. But that decisive action, we are not so certain as to whether it did, be that effective.
Okay. Let me clarify, Brathio. So are you saying that there are some people, even in government, who issue out licenses that are fraudulent and not in line with the law to some of the taxi associations, and that's why you would end up fighting among each other because you've got a license, you've been operating since a long time ago, and then here's someone else who says, well, I also have a permit to operate here, but it's actually fraudulent.
You've just nailed it, my brother. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So which is it? Is it the transport department that's responsible for approving these licenses?
Obviously, yes. Obviously, it's within that department. The current MEC has actually realized that indeed there was this kind of a problem. But you see, when I spoke about an intervention earlier on, that is needed was that authorities could have looked into the recommendations that came out of Jeremiah Shongwa's report and made, effected those resolutions to make sure that this issue of violence is nipped in the bud. So this tells you that there are enforcement or law enforcement authorities, perhaps, that are actually enjoying something out of this. And one of the other recommendations that came out of the taxi industry was that there needed to be a lifestyle audit on people that work on the issuance of operating licenses and the taxi violence and stuff like that. And none of that has actually been done. So you ask yourself as to why is that?
Yeah, there's no political will.
Exactly. And on the other hand, you are then as an industry told that to go out there and sort out your mess. How do you sort out something that you did not create? It's a no-brainer.
So to help us understand here, how many associations can operate in a particular area or route? Can you have more than one? Or like if, for instance, as the National Taxi Alliance, if you have a license to operate in this part of Soweto, is it only you, or there can be maybe a license given to another taxi association?
No, look, in all earnest, licenses are issued as per the geographical landscape within which you operate on. So you have been given a license to operate within that specific geographic area.
But can someone join you there who's not?
Somebody can join. They can actually go past perhaps that route.
Yeah.
You can utilize that route as many as you possibly would be, but the understanding should be that who is the main person that is dealing with a geographic space, in terms of loading and offloading.
Okay.
And perhaps these other operators may also have an opportunity just to offload, but not load. Yeah.
Okay, got
But
it.
this is when, some of these misdemeanors take place.
Yeah, sure. It's 10:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with Theo Malele, who's a member of the executive at the National Taxi Alliance. What questions do you have? We've just touched on the taxi violence. We'll touch on the harassment that some of you have complained about, especially when you are giving hitchhikers a lift. We'll talk about the formalization of the taxi industry. Some of you have raised concerns about taxes, whether they pay taxes or not. I'll get Brathio to respond to that. But first, let's start with Eyewitness News headlines. Fiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Gauteng Transport MEC Kidibone Diale Tlabela has condemned taxi-related violence in the province, saying it is senseless and disturbing. She's called on police to find the people behind the latest shooting in Soweto, where 3 taxi marshals were attacked. One of the patrollers died in the area that's been gripped by years of taxi-related violence. ActionSA says it's premature to suggest it will join the government of national unity after supporting the ANC in getting the fiscal framework passed in Parliament. With the DA's time in the GNU set to be fading fast after an ANC working committee meeting yesterday called for heads to roll, ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba says he's not about to consider an invite to the cabinet table until the VAT increase is withdrawn. And the State Information Technology Agency is at the centre of another showdown between Parliament Committee Chairperson Kusela Diko and Communications Minister Soli Malatsi. Diko has raised concerns over what she says are intentions by Malatsi to devolve powers away from SETA to allow departments the right to get their own IT services, a move that Diko has described as anti-transformation. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving Tembisa Irene area heading towards OR Tambo International Airport, that's in the Kempton Park area, expect heavy delays on the R21 southbound between the R25 Papsfontein off-ramp and the R23 Benoni off-ramp. If you're heading towards Vereeniging, that's leaving Alberton. There's also slow-moving traffic. That's the R59 southbound between the Reading Interchange and Swartkopies. Traffic lights also not working in Edenvale at Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeck. There's also faulty traffic lights in Sunning Hill at Witkoppen and Agta. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN
702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
Any parent who feels like, hey, I've been alienated from my child.
Yeah.
What can I do? I need access. It looks like the child is better off maybe there because there's a bigger house, but I can provide something.
The courts seem to be the number one part. But what we've seen, they are naughty parents. They are naughty people by nature. They will push boundaries as much as they can.
There's a block feature.
Yes.
People just block you.
Oh, by the way, you're not allowed to block the other parent.
Really?
There has to be one form of communication.
702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring APSA. The APSA Corporate Citizenship Managing Executive Dr. Stephen Zwane will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult, day 3215. Checked my bank statements. Payday me and rest of the month me have drastically different budgets. Urgently need to discuss this with Payday me, but I can't seem to get hold of her. She's always out on the jawl.
Recently removed from the family payroll? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's like 570 Rand a month, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
So we did a thing, a full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing, because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
Doll, you know you can't tell us anything, hey? You realize we can see all these men bringing you gifts at all hours, right?
Sorry?
Sweetie, we know about your weakness for men in uniform.
Excuse me? Those men in uniform work for one cart, and they understand my needs. Michelle, they shop the entire mall for me, like Macro, Lint, Toy Kingdom, and more. Maybe you should download OneCart and get your needs delivered in 60 minutes.
From juggling a million roles at once to keeping customer satisfaction on point, what makes one SME stand out above the rest? Well, this week we get to find out as the 702 Small Business Awards, brought to you by MTN, announces the finalists on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa from 6 a.m. and 702 Drive with John Pellman from 3 p.m. Visit primemediaplus.com to find out more about the finalists in the 702 Small Business Awards, brought to you by MTN. T's and C's apply.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
24 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're having a broader conversation with the National Taxi Alliance. Theo Malele is the member of the executive at the National Taxi Alliance. I want to take your calls as well on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. I'll get to them in a minute. One issue, Theo, that some of the listeners have raised a lot in as far as the taxi industry is concerned is the incidences we've seen of taxi associations stopping people who have given a lift on the road to those that are hitchhiking. In fact, the Sowetan at some point was reporting that taxi bosses were saying that they're losing business because of hitchhikers. As the National Taxi Alliance, what's your position of that? Because there are a lot of motorists who feel harassed by some of the taxi drivers or the patrollers, because there's these vehicles now that patrol on behalf of some of the taxi associations. And when they give someone a lift, they just get harassed. Sometimes they even take your car keys, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate part on our side as an industry. I must concede that we are not the best when it comes to behavior on the road. But then there are also incidences where some of these idiotic acts are justified. What I mean by then is that, I at some point tried to do a research, going through most of the, malls in the townships to see precisely what is this that was happening after, there were allegations that the taxi industry was busy harassing people in their private vehicles. And in trying to promote the taxi industry's, partner with Shesha, which is our e-hailing wing. What I discovered there was that not only were, e-hailers prevalent at the malls, but you also had scouters who were going about looking for people who were carrying too many, groceries in their hands. And they will go and ask if they were in need of transport. Obviously, these people, unsuspectingly so, they will say, yes, my son, we're looking for transport. We're carrying too heavy in our hands. And they will be shown to a car, a sedan, which didn't even have, proper, licensing to do that kind of a business. And this was at the highest of, the e-hailing, which also was found not to have been a legal operation that has been in the country for now 14 years. And yet authorities did nothing about it, and it has actually begun to encroach into the market share of the taxi industry. So obviously this then shrinks, the ridership rather drops, and that then becomes a cause for concern because this industry is not even being, even though it's a majority public transport mover, it's not even been supported by way of a subsidy by government. So that puts a lot of pressure on people. But this does not mean that the acts of violence should be the only way to resolve such differences. And at some point, I also realized that some of the e-hailing drivers were picking up passengers near the taxi ranks. And this also, nauseated the taxi operators to say, why is it that now you guys come here and start collecting people where we are working? So that caused problems.
But what about the Gautrain stations?
Well, the Gautrain stations, it is incorrect. It is sheer thuggery if people would go out there and do this. Now, you also ask yourself a question as to why is it that law enforcement agencies are not taking decisive action when such acts, are actually happening on the roads. We do not condone that as the National Taxi Alliance. We've never sat in a meeting where such acts were actually discussed. So in most cases where people were found to be on the wrong side of the law, we've always encouraged the law to take its rightful course. You'll remember also with the rape cases in the Dobsonville area, we help authorities to apprehend the would-be killers and the rapers of all those people.
So
the National
what
Taxi
should
Alliance.
our motorists, people listening to us now, when they are giving someone a lift and they get harassed, what would you advise them to do?
Well, obviously they should report this matter to the authorities. This is just unbecoming. You cannot be, bullied not to get into a particular vehicle in favor of the other.
Don't you guys have a hotline as a taxi?
Yeah, we
association?
do, which is 0800 113322.
So if they call it and say, I'm with someone here who is part of the association, they're harassing me, what do you do about it?
But they need to give us details of what is happening. Remember, they would be telling this to us in the office. So now we need to establish the location where this is taking place.
Okay.
And if possible, they should try and look at the sticker of the vehicle that should depict the name of the association from where this vehicle comes from.
So there's a question, in fact, is it a question, is it a comment that's often being made when we have conversations about the taxi industry, about taxes and whether or not there's a need for the industry to be formalized so you can pay taxes. Can you just clarify that for us? Maybe let's start here. I don't know if you know, how much does the taxi industry just generate annually, just in turnover?
Just in turnover, it's about 9 billion rand.
9 billion
9
rand a
billion
year,
rand
just the
annually.
whole industry.
Which is the whole
It's
industry.
a lot of money.
It's a lot of
And
money.
taxes? Do you pay taxes?
No. It is a lot of money from a layman's point of view. But if you walk in the shoes of the taxi operators, you will realize that it is insufficient in this sense. You know, the repayment of a vehicle is around 18,000 rand today. And a vehicle does about between 600 rands on a daily basis. And let's work on a 25 days month. You know, that amount of money would not suffice even to pay back for that, installment, which is why you also, notice that a lot of taxis get repossessed because, for failure to meet, the monthly financial obligations. So, and the other, issue is that we pay variable taxes. When we buy vehicles, we get charged taxes like everybody else. Buying fuel, buying spares, we pay for taxes. But what we also were told, unless if we are incorrect, that if you generate a net of over 300,000 per annum, only then do you attract an income tax. But the issues of tax can best be left with the taxman to deal with individual taxi operators, because when you apply for an operating license, one of the prerequisites is that you need to show a tax compliance certificate, which is issued by SARS. So obviously SARS would not issue a certificate to a non-compliant person and allege that this person is compliant. So it's just that people are short-sighted. They don't have, the inside information.
So you
of
pay
the taxi.
taxes through when you buy the vehicles, but your drivers as well who get paid.
Our drivers as well who get paid.
And
Look, our drivers who get paid. We haven't crossed this line of meeting the labor law requirements to actually. We actually even to an extent pay more than what the labor department would require us to do.
in terms of the requirement for this is the amount that
The
you
amount,
can pay lower
yes,
than this.
yes,
Forgetting the name, yeah.
So we're paying
Minimum wage, yeah.
We're paying 1,000, more than the minimum wage. We're paying 1,000 rands a week plus. And you must also understand that there is a shrinkage that also takes place. And the University of Johannesburg a few years ago also came out with an empirical evidence that proves that 40% of what should come to the taxi operators actually stays with the taxi drivers. But let me share with you what I did with my team just last year. We did a study between Olivenhout-Bosch and the Mall of Africa through the help of Amsterdam Taxi Association, where we were piloting an electronic fare collection system. So normally, the funds were between 500 and 600 rands that were collected by operators on a daily basis. But what we found out was that at some point, one owner got 2,500 rands for the same route on this, for a day. And the list only got 1,500, but we could also justify why this person only got 1,005 is because they had not given the driver a vehicle with a full tank of fuel. So this one that ended at 2,500 rand had actually made sure that before the vehicle goes out to the ranking facilities, it's actually filled. So a lot of money gets lost there. So we
What
need to get
about-
up, tight with that.
What about banking? There's a lot of money you guys make, and does it get banked?
Look, it has to be banked because even the retailers, vehicle retailers, would want you to give them your 3 months bank statement before they can, sell your vehicles. So just to look at your history in terms of transactions and your income.
Okay. Maz, let's go to some calls now. I'm going to ask you to please put on your headphones. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Let's start with you, Maz, in Diepkloof. Good morning.
Clement, good morning to both of you. It pains me to listen to what's happening in the taxi industry. I mean, he is complaining about how much they're charged. In the meanwhile, they have not decided, or rather, Santago went and gave R250 million to Capital Taxi Finance Corporation, which was the organization that is charging them extraordinarily high interest rates. They have not bothered to organize themselves, with 9 billion rand. If you were to ask Saab how much does it cost to have a commercial banking license, they'll tell you they need deposits of close to, I think the last time I heard was 300 million rand. He's talking 9 billion rand. So Taxi Association I don't know why government just doesn't take over and say, listen, yeah, this is the way to go, because these guys simply do not want to organize themselves and create a legacy for themselves instead of shooting each other all the time for different routes.
Yeah, got it. Maz in Diepkloof, thank you. Mpo, you are in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Morning, Clement. How are you?
Shop. Go ahead.
Good. Clement, that was saying that if you make under 300,000, you don't have to file for income tax. Clement, a reason why a lot of owners are paying exorbitant interest rates is because they're all applying for these vehicles under their personal names. You find an individual who's got 10 taxis, all financed under his name, including his personal cars, and then complain to say that they are being charged exorbitant interest rates. Of course, you will and finance your cars via fleet, hence why you will not have an issue with trade and around everything under your name, your 10 cars.
Yeah, Mpoza, I'm sorry, man. Your line is dropping there, but I think I got the question. I'll repeat it to Brathio to respond to it. Lucky, you are in Pimville, Soweto. Go ahead. Hi.
Hi, Clement. Thank you for taking this call, Papa. With the taxi industry now, they are harassing us, especially, with the pensioners. Where they make the drop-offs, have a drop at the pensioner. They say, no, they must not be dropped right in the mall, in front of the mall. You have to walk a long distance with your grocery and come up carrying those heavy parcels, to the end. Yeah, no, that's, we find
Is
that
this when you use e-hailing, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and again, another one is, they stopped us last time we were going to Limpopo. One of that long distance, there's a family traveling that side. They take your car keys, they'll harass you, wait there for more than an hour. So we find that it's not fair with the taxi industry.
Yeah, no, I got it, bro. Lucky, thank you so much for your call. Theo, Lucky, the first call we got from Lucky now says they can't be dropped at malls inside, because then some of the taxi associations will argue that, but this is our territory. But if someone is using an e-hailing, now they must be stopped too far and walk in, especially these pensioners.
No. I think that is not correct. If people experience such acts, they should actually bring these to our attention. Look, there are demarcated areas for e-hailing vehicles at these malls. So this is where these people can be dropped off. So there is no one that has sanctioned, from the leadership's point of view, that there be this kind of, interventions from the squad people. That is just not right, and they should actually give us who these people are, so that we can then pass this message on.
Yeah.
That such behaviors have to be corrected.
All right. Maz was asking about the need to organize yourselves. Has there ever been a consideration for government to just take over, regulate?
Yeah. Look, there has been trials to try and convince the taxi industry into corporatizing itself, and the leadership has always welcomed this. This was done by the then MEC of Transport, Jacobs, who's passed on. May his soul rest in peace. He had initiated that there be, the professionalization of the taxi industry. That faded away. And when we were with Jacob Mamabolo, the MEC, just recently, he also spoke about that. But we've also not, spared the current MEC we've asked her to please look at the resolutions that we took with Jacob Mamabolo so that we bring those onto the fore and look into the aspect of the corporatization of the taxi industry for it to be professionalized. So we are for that idea, but we are saying come in, help us understand to a much greater degree this that you want us to do.
Mpo was asking about why are taxis not registered under a business or a business.
Look, this has been short-sightedness on our side that this had not taken place. But safe to say, it is currently being trialed. We have begun this. I was in Pretoria yesterday, where Toyota delivered about 20 vehicles to an association. So we want to see if this model would actually help, because doing it as individuals, attracts a lot of problems for the industry. So yes, it is a brilliant idea, and we are looking into this, and we've already begun.
But why is it that the taxis, when they are purchased, they're never owned by a business?
Look,
what is the reason?
It has always been the culture that these are my vehicles. So if I buy vehicles, our culture as well would say you need to take them home, to go and say, or should I put it Soweto,
business. You can say these are my vehicles from my business.
Exactly. Yeah. So we need to change the mindset of operators for them to begin to appreciate that if they bought this through a company, they would get a lot of concessions, even fleet discounts, and even their HPs will not be as exorbitant as they are.
Someone is asking about taxi fares. Why is it that when taxi fares go up, they never go down?
Well, the same applies to the price of bread. When that happens, the price of bread goes up. But when the fuel price drops, the price of bread will never drop. But nobody will actually ask about that. And not only bread, but a lot of other commodities, will follow suit.
Good morning, Clement and the listeners. With the taxi industry, please ask your visitor today why the passengers should be their kids or their subjects. Because in this democratic country, they want to rule us. They want to tell us what to take. We have to take their taxis in force. They are stopping the buses. The buses are cheap. And the buses, they take you from where you start till the end where you are going. And then with the taxis, you go into Pretoria. You have to take 3 taxis coming from Soweto. That's not fair. That's not fair. And when the government wants to come in, they want to be involved. They want to threaten people, want to kill people around so that we fear them. Please ask them, why are they doing this in a democratic country? Thank you, Clement. Anonymous.
Good morning, Clement. The issue of tax industry, the government needs to take a firm decision to regulate this industry. So as long as the government is not taking firm decision, this industry will be run like this. And then also number 2, this issue of malls, because there is this thing of demarcation. Sometimes it disturbs a lot. And then also point number 3, the association, they need to come together and work together, because the population is busy expanding a lot. That needs a lot of transport. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Just last question, Theo, was around our trains. When our trains start running effectively again, there will be a shrink, whether you like it or not, in the number of people who use your taxis. Are you guys ready for that? To avoid a scenario where now we start seeing infrastructure being interfered with, and then the accusations are that it's the taxi industry because they don't want the trains to be effective because take away their
Yeah,
customers.
sure. Look, let's look at it in this fashion. To say the playing field in the public transport space has to be leveled. Currently, there is segregation. There are other modes that are favored against. The industry basically is treated as a stepchild of the public transport sector because it is not getting, even though it moves the majority of people, but it gets the least of support. That in itself is a problem. So that needs to be corrected, as you, in your articulacy earlier on, so that there needs to be a political will for us to do that. So the solution, even to the other problem that a caller spoke of, we need to have an integrated transport system, because whether we like it or not, the buses may not necessarily reach some of the areas within the townships. So you still need to have a mode of transport that will bring people out of the deeper parts.
So you want to be subsidized?
Look, it goes without saying.
Okay.
It goes without saying.
Yeah, Prathia, I'm out of time. Thank you so much for making time. We should bring you back in studio because there's a lot more things that I really wanted us to talk about, but it's important that we keep having these conversations with the taxi alliance. Thank you so much for making time for us.
No, you're more than welcome. I'm ready for you at any given day.
All right, 1 minute before 11.
Perhaps you want to impress your friends with your Mercedes-Benz or enjoy your Kota in a Toyota. Maybe it's time to get rowdy in an Audi or raise the bar with a Jaguar. Whichever car starts your party, you're bound to find it at Bidvest McCarthy. We have all these brands and so much more. You're guaranteed to find what you're looking for. Bidvest McCarthy. Our people deliver. Always.
Don't miss out. The Powerball jackpot is estimated at a staggering 110 million rand this Tuesday. You heard right. Play Powerball now for your chance at an estimated 110 million rand jackpot, and you could become Mzansi's next big winner. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the National Lottery mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Elevate your flying experience with Lift Premium. Enjoy even more space, comfort, and convenience with priority boarding, extra baggage allowance, and complimentary lounge access. Visit lift.co.za today.
.702 was in conversation with Altron,
Celebrating 60 years of solving real-world problems
and discussing their plans to rebuild
and re-energize Johannesburg through partnership
and collaboration.
You've partnered with Josie Majosi. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I think firstly, it's really important that it's time to tell the Joburg story. I think for good reasons, things like Eskom, Transnet has been a big part of the national dialogue over the last couple of years. But I think it's really time that we put our focus on Joburg. It's the heartbeat of the South African economy. And obviously Altron's been, as you said now with Bill and the founding of Altron, very much part of that story. So what we've really done is we really feel that we've been part of building this city. So we want to really be part of the efforts to rebuild the city. So we partnered with Josie Majosi. They're a non-for-profit organization. You know them.
Visit altron.com for more info.
Altron, a technology industry leader
since 1965.
It's time for Eyewitness News, brought to you by cars.co.za. Let cars.co.za find what moves you.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Gauteng Transport MEC Kidibone Diale Tlhabela has condemned increasing taxi-related violence in the province, saying it is senseless and disturbing. She has called on police to find the people behind the latest shooting in Soweto, where 3 taxi marshals were attacked. One of the patrollers died in the area that's been gripped by years of taxi-related violence. Tlhabela says violence in the industry poses a threat to the well-being of communities. The MEC spokesperson, Lisibampia.
She strongly condemns the violence, the use of shootings and killings as a means to resolve disputes. She has added that no form of dispute or disagreement justifies the use of violence.
National Taxi Alliance spokesperson Theo Malele says the victims belonged to one of their affiliates.
The alleged perpetrators of this heinous crime were still on the run, and law enforcement agencies were actually in trying to get hold of them.
ActionSA says it's premature to suggest it will join the Government of National Unity after supporting the ANC in getting the fiscal framework passed in Parliament. With the DA's time in the GNU said to be fading fast after an ANC Working Committee meeting yesterday called for heads to roll, ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba says he's not about to consider an invite to the cabinet table until the VAT increase is withdrawn. The DA and Freedom Front Plus failed to toe the GNU line last week, voting against the fiscal framework. The VAT rate will increase to 15.5% next month, which ActionSA wants stopped before it considers any further political steps. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
While the DA hangs on to see whether the ANC will be pulling the plug on their partnership, ActionSA says it's not about to step into the breach. Party leader Herman Mashaba says he will not give any thought to such a proposal, which has not been made by the ANC, until the VAT increase and income tax bracket creep matters have been resolved. While it appears highly unlikely the Finance Minister can make legislative amendments to the VAT matter within the tight time frame, ActionSA says it submitted to him over the weekend alternative revenue proposals that can generate 100 billion rand. EWN understands that the ANC has called a meeting of political parties tonight to discuss their budget alternatives. ActionSA says it only supported last week's budget blueprint to protect South Africans from the national budget being used as a political football. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
The State Information Technology Agency is at the centre of another showdown between Parliament Committee Chairperson Kusela Diko and Communications Minister Solly Malatsi. Diko has raised concerns over what she says are intentions by Malatsi to devolve powers away from SETA to allow departments the right to procure their own IT services, a move Diko has described as anti-transformation. She says Malatsi plans to do this through regulations that will exempt departments from using SETA, but states that this goes against the law. Babalondenze has more.
Kusela Diko says Minister Malatsi indicated in a parliamentary response that he was in the process of gazetting regulations that in effect would devolve powers from SETA to departments. Diko says she's aware of operational weaknesses at SETA and how departments have become increasingly frustrated with SETA's performance, but any move to get departments to move away from SETA would only cripple it and compound the problem. She says the SETA Act currently doesn't empower the minister. Malatsi says he's still studying Diko's portfolio committee statement and will respond in due course. Babalondense, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $3,005, 1 cent an ounce. The rand is at 19.44 to the dollar, 24.81 to the pound, 21.27 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.96 a barrel.
Traffic heavily backed up in the Tembisa area heading towards OR Tambo International Airport. That's the R21 southbound between the R25 Popfontein off-ramp and the R23 Benoni off-ramp. Also in Alberton heading towards Vereeniging. Traffic is a bit sluggish on the R59 southbound from the Reading interchange all the way to Swarkopis. And in Kagiso also look out for slow-moving traffic. This is on Randfontein Road heading towards Adcock Street.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Gauteng Transport MEC Kidibone Diale-Tlhabela has condemned increasing taxi-related violence in the province, saying it is senseless and disturbing.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Majestic handling. A V8
Cars.coza.
horsepower that is...
Cars.coza.
This is very annoying. I'm trying to read a car radio advertisement.
Whatever car you want to buy or sell, cut through the and just go to Cars.coza and let's find what moves you. Cars.coza.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I hope grand this morning. At 11:30, we're going to do our health and wellness feature. And this is when we're going to be focusing on autism today, this month being the World Autism Awareness Month. In a moment, we're going to start our World of Work feature focusing on leaving your job or your profession. When do you know for sure that this is the time for you to leave that work? When do you know for sure that this is the time to leave that profession? That's what we're going to be focusing on, because there are some people that want to leave their jobs or their professions. In fact, more and more people are quitting their jobs and changing industries because they're searching for better opportunities, right? But some people are just so confused because they're scared of the high levels of unemployment. Am I going to find a job? Am I not going to find a job? Is this a great move? Is it not? So what we'll do at 11 o'clock is help you in that moment of confusion. Just a reminder that there are two important briefings that are expected this morning. Now, anytime from now, the ANC's Fikile Mbalula, the Secretary General of the ANC, expected to hold a media briefing, hopefully to give you a sense of what the NWC decided yesterday in as far as the GNU is concerned. Musi Maimane, Bossa leader, is also expected to hold a media briefing. I asked him a very simple question a couple of minutes ago. I asked him, Musi, do you think it is possible, practically possible, for the finance minister to rework budget and remove VAT between now and the 1st of May, as it was promised to you guys by the ANC? And he simply responded to me and said, well, come to the media briefing at 11 o'clock. Let's wait and see what happens at that briefing at 11. 11 minutes now after 11 o'clock.
702.
World of Work.
Right, on our World of Work feature, how have you decided to leave your work? And have you decided to leave your work? Have you given thought to how you want to do it, when you want to do it, and why do you want to do it? Are you thinking of changing your job or perhaps changing your profession because maybe you're getting bored? Maybe you are looking for better opportunities. Because I know change can really be scary for a lot of people, but sometimes it is necessary. You might find the change that you are afraid of to really be what you need for you to have a fulfilling career. So please share your thoughts with us on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. We have Professor Kobus Oosthuizen, who is a Dean Postgraduate Studies at Boston campus, joining us on the line, who's going to guide us through this conversation. Prof, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Hello, Clement. Wonderful to have this opportunity with you. And as you said, 11:11, a beautiful double up for this discussion. Thanks so much.
So I want us to start off with, in your experience, from what you've observed or perhaps even researched, what are some of the reasons why people choose to leave their jobs or even their profession, especially their profession, when they want to really try something new or just try a different industry?
Yeah. Clement, thank you for the question. And I think, many of the listeners, maybe all of them, and even myself, have been at this point somewhere in our lives, or maybe at multiple times. But, we often think of our career path that should be linear. But, of course, the reality is careers today are increasingly dynamic and agile. As they say, seasons come and seasons go. And sometimes seasons are not only forced upon you, but sometimes seasons become even unbearable, and it's time for a change. But I think key signs that it might be time to pivot could include, consistently feeling drained or uninspired, having reached your growth plateau in the particular organization, or that promotional opportunities are lacking, or even noticing your skills aren't fully utilized or appreciated. When your daily work lacks meaning, and I think you referred to the word as well, lacks meaning, or it doesn't align with your values and passions. Now, those are all strong indicators that it might be time to reassess your direction and reorientate towards something that would be more fulfilling, more rewarding, and aligned with your passions, your values, etc.
Yeah. And what are some of those important questions that I should be asking myself if I'm thinking of changing my job or changing my career? My profession.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Clement, I think, facing these crossroads, obviously, professionally can feel daunting. But I think it's also an excellent opportunity, and maybe an exciting opportunity. And the most powerful step, I think, to start with is that self-assessment, self-evaluation, self-reflection, whatever you want to call it. But asking yourself, what energizes you? Reflecting deeply on your skills, your strengths, and your passions. And then, along with that, evaluating the possible gaps that you need to close. And then from there, one can, extend into what I believe is extremely important, extremely valuable, networking. And there are professional platforms that, in my own experience, I've utilized to great success. But networking, reaching out to trusted mentors who can also provide valuable perspectives, and equally important, is upskilling through perhaps targeted education, which could be a very powerful accelerator. Perhaps enrolling in, structured postgraduate education, such as an MBA, which I believe can help fast track your pivot by equipping you with new tools, fresh ideas, and of course expanding your professional network. That's a very important one. And it's instead of sitting and waiting for that seventh wave of success to come up onto the shore, if it is to be, it's up to me. So going out and even trade fairs, or attending these webinars about particular sectors that you might be interested in or want to investigate or look further into. And perhaps just as a margin entry here for the listeners, in September, at the Sandton Convention Center, there's going to be an MBA Expo, and there's going to be LeaderX as well, those kinds of the trade fair, where situations like that extremely valuable, just to go networking and asking questions, talking to people. But those are kind of, next steps if one wants to fast forward a change in direction.
Okay. And so for someone maybe who wants to start in a particular field, they want to change industries, is it better to go and get experience in that field first and then consider studying? Or is it better to, take up the opportunity to study and, get a degree maybe, or a diploma, a certificate, whatever it is, in that particular field, and then start looking for entry opportunities?
Yeah, Clement, good question. I'm thinking as you were asking the question is, before I go and run a marathon, I have to actually train, and then to be able to take on the race and finish it successfully. So, from my perspective, in the world of postgraduate studies, I think they offer a structured approach to career reinvention. And of course, options range from specialized short courses, if one really wants to get a handle on a particular skill gap that one might have. And then, of course, postgraduate diplomas, and then moving into advanced degrees like masters or MBAs. And the important thing is, though, that the key is choosing a pathway that aligns with your career aspirations. So, for instance, an MBA is an excellent option because of its versatility, its recognized value, and ability to cultivate broad-based leadership and management and critical thinking skills. So most MBAs, generally speaking, depending on the mode of delivery, but in our own example, catering specifically to working professionals, offering a flexible, practical curriculum that's obviously highly relevant and adaptable to the demands of today's dynamic job market. So Clement, my view would be a good space to start is to get fit or get skilled in the particular direction that you are ambitious to pursue.
Yeah, I want to get in some views from our listeners now. It's 19 minutes after 11 o'clock. You can call on 011-883-0702. Maybe you decided to change careers. How did that go for you? Can you please share that experience with us? There's some of you who went to school and studied something completely different to what you are doing now. How did that one go? When did you know that this is the time to change tack? Or maybe listening to us now, you're one of those that are considering changing a profession and you've been wondering, how do I go about it? 011-883-0702, WhatsApp's on 0727021702. Renee, you calling us from Johannesburg. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, go ahead.
A bit of a broad question, maybe back to the audience or the prof, if he has some insights, is I'm a project manager, senior project manager, and what I find, it's not just even completely changing your career or industry, but that when you apply to employers, people seem to have a very narrow definition of what, if you apply for X, you need to tick all the boxes for X. For example, project management and IT skills, it's transferable across industries, but people would say they want a project manager who's worked in insurance for 20 years. It makes it very difficult to shift, to get that different perspective, and the reason why sometimes people go for career changes is that you do, feel you're stagnating. And for example, if you work in a telco, I may want to go and work for an insurance firm as a project manager, but it's almost as if, it's very rigid, and that prevents you from making the transition. So, if anybody else has had that struggle, or if there's people in the human resources field perhaps listening, why is that? Is it the challenge between, skills versus competencies, that people don't understand the difference? But I think it's a very broad subject, and very interesting to hear if anybody else has come across the same challenges.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, Renee. Yeah, Prof?
Yeah, Clement, thanks. And Renee, I think what you're experiencing, many people also experience that. And, there's not in my humble view, not a quick silver bullet answer. I intuitively just kind of want to say, keep on keeping on. Don't quit, just keep on pursuing. And sometimes it might take a month, sometimes it could take a year to actually realize that to realize the move into another sector or another industry or whatever it might be. But in that process, and I think you've referred to skills and competencies here, and some jobs are obviously the supply often outstrips the demand. And we find, if you look at the recent World Economic Forum Jobs of the Future listing, and you see the types of skills that are deemed to be in highest demand, and obviously the times that we find ourselves in with AI becoming a buzzword and that everybody talks about. But in that process of attempting to penetrate or to move into a different space, is in that period of time to still continue, and maybe if time allows, to talk about lifelong or continuous learning. There are many of these shorter term interventions where one can also add more to the bag, so to speak, more of these insights or skills and the competencies as Renee has referred to. But it remains a challenging and a daunting task often. But again, I used these words lightly earlier on. If it is to be, it is up to me, and it is just keep on keeping on, and that networking processes. And I believe that at some point the appropriate door will also open.
And then let's go to these WhatsApps before we go to those questions. 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Clement and team. Kingsley from Germiston. With regards to your work feature, in my own experience, when you wake up in the morning and you can no longer recognize who you are and you feel like you're losing yourself, and when you have to pray for strength and courage to get through the day, and at the end of the day, you give thanks that you survived or made it through the day, then it's time to go. And, one of the critical lessons I learned quite recently is it's always best to see the early warning signs so that you can prepare ahead of time. In other words, looking for a job or making sure that you're financially okay to be able to walk away. Too often we wait until it's too late, and then you either being forced out or you're having to leave when you don't have a plan B, which can be frightening. But that would be my contribution. Kingsley from Germiston.
Hi, Clement. Interesting topic. I studied mining engineering and I've been working at the mines for 20 years. So I feel that I've done my time. So I want to change to something different, but I don't want to lose that experience. So I've enrolled for a Bachelor of Law degree. The plan is to merge the two and be a lawyer that specializes in mining. I mean, you get that, you represent people in inquiries and so forth. So I'm excited. I'm doing my second year. So I'm already thinking of branching off, to areas like safety, so that ultimately, I can start my own practice and, start making money.
Yeah, there's an idea, Prof. For some people, you can merge. Because, that other listener was raising a concern of sometimes they need so much experience, even when you want to join in and start in a new industry, and then experience that you may not have in that field. But then it works better this way, I suppose. Well, one of the ways it works better if you just merge them.
Absolutely. I mean, I just want to shout out to the lady who just called in. It's beautiful to hear these first-hand accounts of people that's pushing the boundaries in their own career trajectories, and crossing from from one sector or industry totally into another one. But that could be so valuable. And remember, every qualification or skill or program that you've done, it forms part of you. It's something that can never be taken away. So her ambitions of becoming a legal counsel in that space, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, and all the best with the remainder of the studies and so forth. But absolutely, you often hear of people that make and let me give you an example. Someone that went from being a medical practitioner, who had a passion for education, who moved into the realm of education and started a business some years ago, which is an educational business, which is going very successful. So I think, as we've spoken earlier on, it's really to get to know oneself intimately. And one of the earlier listeners also mentioned that not to wait until it's too late, because we also live in times of extreme work burnout, as it's in severe burnout, and when it just culminates and becomes heavy, and you're being unhappy, when you're unhappy in your work, you kind of take that with you wherever you go. It kind of manifests in your behaviors and so forth. So really making work of this, and the journey starts with oneself. That reflective place. Use your journal, write down stuff, and in that process, refine those things that really make your heart, that makes your heart pump first, quicker, as they say. That excites you, that you really have passion for, and to pursue that with all you have. And again, I know I'm reiterating this, but it's talk to people. There are also excellent career counselors that one can engage with, networking, talking to people in the industry that you are interested to access. So, but again, it's all going to start with you and not waiting for something to fall from the sky.
Okay. Someone else was asking about the issue of age. When you are over 40, is that something that should concern you if you're thinking about changing your job or your career?
Sure, Clement. I can only speak from my own personal lived life, where I'm now in my journey. And I'm saying this, tongue in cheek. People have heard, age is just a number, and it is. I don't bring the number. My value is not in the number. My value that I contribute to whichever organization is my experience, my life that I have lived, and everything that I've culminated over this time. And people will see that. People will notice that. Your attitude. So I personally don't think that age should be any inhibitor of changing direction. There are people that late in their lives, and I yesterday read again a case where somebody that got fired at the age of 40, and from there established a very, very successful organization. No names, no pact rules at this stage, but became a very successful businessman. So often these things are what initially might look like a negative, rather see the opportunities that are embedded in there. But if it's time, if deep in yourself, you will know it's time to move on. And then it is up to you in terms of the next steps that you are going to take to realize this and making it real.
All right. Professor Kobus Oosthuizen, thank you for making time for us. He's the Dean of Postgraduate Studies at Boston City Campus. I'm going to wrap up with this message from Moise, who says, Clement, I started as a scientist, BTech in chemistry. I learned lab-based software systems and ended up in IT for 4 years while studying PGDIP and LLB. I finished LLB last year, and I've started as a legal counsel in the same organization that I was in IT, and I started this month. Final year of MBA in 2025. Moise, that sounds incredible. All the best. It's 11:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mikey, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Gauteng police have arrested 110 people and killed 15 others who are identified as criminal kingpins in the province. The arrests come 2 months after Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi told the provincial legislature during the State of the Province address that 450 people were identified as kingpins. Speaking at the policing summit at Empress Palace in Kempton Park today, Lesufi informed President Cyril Ramaphosa and police top brass that they continue to clamp down on hardened criminals. In the courts, another police officer has denied having knowledge of the accused in the Jocelyn Smith trial being tortured to admit they were involved in the child's disappearance. A detective in the anti-kidnapping unit is being cross-examined today about allegations related to 2 of the 3 accused being beaten and threatened with death to confess that what happened to Jocelyn. The little girl's mother, Kelly Smith, Jaquina Polis and Stefano van Rijn are charged with kidnapping and human trafficking in the Western Cape High Court, sitting in Saldanha Bay Multipurpose Centre. And the South African Weather Service has cautioned heavy downpours in most parts of the country today. A yellow level 4 warning has been issued for the Northern Cape, the Northwest and the Free State. Residents in the Free State have been contending with contentious rainfall that has led to severe floods since last week. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour in Kagiso, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on Randfontein Road between Adcock and Geba Street. Also, if you are leaving the Joburg CBD, expect some delays on the M2 westbound. That's between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Also traveling through Houghton, traffic is a bit sluggish on the M1 North. That's between Killarney Benz and Athol Oakland. In Alberton, traffic remains heavily backed up. This is on the R59 southbound between the Reading Interchange and Swartkopies. Also, Tembisa heading towards OR Tambo International Airport. Traffic remains heavily backed up on the R21 southbound between the R25 Popsfontein off-ramp and the R23 Benoni exit. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
25 years since the first accusations levelled against the late Hansi Cronje. Looking at where cricket stands now, all those years later, in regard to match fixing.
Organised crime, regardless of what type of organised crime, evolves. And these individuals have become very tech savvy, so they're trying to use technology to stay ahead of detection. And so when we look at this, we're looking at cricket, but this is far broader than just cricket.
Karen Dolly, award-winning journalist and author.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
In today's world, every purchase needs to make sense, and that includes your car. The Omoda C9 delivers luxury you can trust at a price you can actually afford. With its award-winning design, premium features, and smart pricing, the Omoda C9 is the perfect blend of style, sophistication, and value. Why compromise when you can have it all? Visit omoda.co.za today and experience the Omoda C9, luxury that makes sense.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Drive your success and trade like a champion. CFI, a global leading broker now in South Africa. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial is an authorized financial services provider.
CFI, empower yourself.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Small business owners juggle a million roles in one. And that's what makes them one in a million. The 702 Small Business Awards, brought to you by MTN, asked you to tell us all about that one SME that just stands out. And this week, we're announcing the finalists on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa from 6 a.m. and 702 Drive with John Pullman from 3 p.m. Visit primemediaplus.com to find out more about the finalists in the 702 Small Business Awards, brought to you by MTN. T's and C's apply.
702
Health and Wellness.
23 minutes before 12 o'clock, time for our Health and Wellness feature. And today, we are focusing on autism. According to data, approximately about 75 million people worldwide live with autism. In fact, in South Africa, autism or the autism spectrum disorder is a growing concern, with estimates suggesting around 1.2 million people have been diagnosed because more people are experiencing it. So there's a need also for greater awareness. When there's greater awareness, there can be early intervention and access to services, particularly in under-resourced areas. So this month is World Autism Awareness Month. So we thought we should focus on this. If maybe you are someone who is on the spectrum, you have been raising or you've raised a child with autism, you can share your experiences with us. What are some of the challenges you faced? Or maybe you've got questions right now for my guest because you're currently raising a child with autism. You can give us a call on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 0727021702. Ilana Getchell-Witz is an autism expert and a marketing director, MD of the Star Academy, joining us on the line. Ilana, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
So let's start by maybe defining and explaining to some of our listeners that may not understand that autism spectrum disorder. What is it? What do we mean? What are the symptoms when someone has autism?
Thank you so much for having me today, and it's so important to be talking about this diagnosis for April, which is World Autism Awareness Month. Autism is a spectrum diagnosis. On the one end of the spectrum, you have a child or individual who can't speak at all, and on the other end of the spectrum, you have an individual or a child who's high functioning. This end of the spectrum will be struggling with social skills deficits. They may have some eccentricities. But Clement, we really are comparing apples and oranges on the spectrum of autism, and the time has come for a redefinition.
So there's some parents, Ilana, who don't really know what symptoms to look out for. So as soon as they see that the neighbor's child has already started speaking at 2 or at 1 and their child really hasn't, they start thinking, that self-diagnosis, this must be autism. Maybe some advice to parents who are beginning to pick up some signs. What is it that they should look out for? And what's the first thing to do as opposed to make the diagnosis themselves? Once they pick up that maybe there are some developmental challenges with the child.
For parents raising young children, it's very, very important for them to be in tune with the developmental milestones. Development is meant to happen on time. It was incorrectly believed in South Africa for many years that you can't make a diagnosis of autism before the age of 3. That is incorrect. We can diagnose between the ages of 12 and 18 months. Early intervention is key and sets the stage for a better outcome later. Red flags to autism that your parents and the listeners today should be looking out for is going to be, does a child respond to their name? Do they make eye contact? Do they have imitation? If you clap hands or wave bye-bye, are they imitating you? When the child gets older, a 3-year-old, can they answer questions, or do they have something we call echolalia, where they just repeating the question that you're asking? Is the child developing their language on time? We want at least one-word phrases by 16 months. By 24 months, you definitely want double-word phrases. Is the child walking on their toes, flapping their hands, maybe packing their cars in a line instead of playing with the cars appropriately? So those are red flags to autism in a young developing child.
Okay. And what about some of the misconceptions? Because as part of raising awareness, we have to overcome some of the misconceptions that exist out there around autism.
There are so many misconceptions, but I think the biggest misconception is that it is a superpower. It is not a superpower, unfortunately. It can be an extremely debilitating diagnosis. In a young developing child, Clement, can you imagine a child not being able to speak, not having a voice, not physically? They don't choose to be non-speaking. They are non-verbal. That means they have a physical impediment to speech, So can you imagine not being able to speak and voice yourself and, tell your parents what you want, where you want to go? It's extremely frightening for the parents. It can be extremely debilitating for the parents. So you asked me about the misconceptions. The misconception is that we need to accept something like this. We don't accept diabetes. We don't accept cancer. Why would any parent accept that their child is not developing, and why should any parent give up on their hopes and dreams for their child's future? Now, this is extremely controversial because of the diagnosis, which is a spectrum, and the high-functioning individuals on the spectrum, they they can speak and advocate for themselves. Their needs are very different, and I acknowledge and respect them for wanting acceptance and inclusion in the community, and that's valid. However, on the other end of the spectrum, you have these parents of young children and developing teenagers who may have social skills deficits or anxiety, being kicked out of school, and they're fighting for access to services and medical treatments and educational interventions for their children. So the misconception is that we must accept this and they're just born this way. They're not just born this way. The misconception is that it's not a treatable condition. It is a treatable condition. And now, Clement, what I'm telling you is I'm sure there's going to be a lot of callers calling in today. It's very, very controversial. Both ends of the spectrum it's very heated. It's a very heated debate. And I just want to say to those high-functioning autistic individuals, I really do acknowledge you so much for all the challenges that you have overcome in your life. But that does not mean that you can bully or not respect the other end of the spectrum, where there are parents voicing the challenges of raising children on the spectrum.
Yeah, and sometimes those, parents are not, being listened to, because the expectation is, when you are raising those challenges, it's almost like you're seen as you're just complaining and not supporting your child. But you can still love your child, but also be real enough to acknowledge how challenging it's been. And maybe that leads me to the question about the support system. And I'll go to some calls on 011-883-0702. Maybe you are autistic yourself listening to us. Maybe you have a loved one who is. How was it for you? Can you share that experience with us? Or maybe you've got some questions for Ilana. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. Can you talk about the support system, Ilana? Support system, yes, for one, the child who is being raised, or someone who's got autism. Sometimes maybe it helps for them to be in an environment where some of them go to special schools, they can see other people that are like them, but also the support system for the parents who are sometimes facing the challenges, worried about the cost of special schools, and they're just feeling, I love my child, yes, but also I'm so exhausted, I'm so stressed, because they want to give them only the best, and sometimes that can be pricey.
Clement, when you have a child who's diagnosed with autism, overnight you have to become a medical expert, an educational specialist overnight, and an expert chef, because often they do well on, certain special diets. And really the challenges of balancing work life and raising children just can become very, very overwhelming. The physical challenges of raising the children, the emotional stress can be very, very draining and can weigh very, very heavily on the families. So I do always say to the extended family, please support the parents raising the child on the spectrum. Maybe granny can offer to babysit so the parents can get a good night's sleep. Maybe the cousins can offer to take the other siblings out on an outing for the day. The family raising the child with autism is not going to emotionally be able to manage maybe arguments in the family that they could manage before. The focus has changed. They're going to breathe and sleep, trying to help this child and trying to create a good quality of life for them, and they need to find a new normal, and you need to give them the space for that. They need a lot of positivity. Yeah. I mean, I used to hate it when people said, I'm so sorry. Like, well, don't be sorry, just be positive, Yeah. And then just quickly, you asked me about the high functioning end of the spectrum. So if they're employed, you do want the employer maybe to be ensuring that there is a training for the other employees to understand the high-functioning individual on the spectrum. They maybe also want to just ensure that the environment that the person is working in, sometimes they can have sensory issues, so just think about the lighting and the noise level.
Okay, I'm going to take a break, and then afterwards we go straight to the calls. Zandile Joseph, I see you. I'll start with you after this. It's 13 minutes before 12.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Why is President Trump doing this? For all intents and purposes, that economy objectively is heading for a recession. Why would the president do this?
Essentially, what it all means, the countries that depend to a large extent on dollar funding, which is much of the broader Africa with significant levels of debt that are all in hard currency, are going to find it difficult. And therefore, we are bystanders of economies that are going to suffer significantly.
Isaiah Mhlanga.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose ActionSA, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to ActionSA and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit ActionSA.com today.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Dear Journal, day 4642 of trying to be an adult. I miss when being a millennial meant I was young, dumb, and broke. Now, it just means I'm old, out of touch, and, you guessed it, still broke.
Aggressively realizing your age? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's simple and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
702 was in conversation with Altron,
celebrating 60 years of solving real-world problems
and discussing their plans to rebuild
and re-energize Johannesburg
through partnership and collaboration.
So our business is really what we call a platform and an IT services business. And what we do for our customers essentially is we use technology either on our platforms or in a bespoke way, working with our customers to really help to operate their digital infrastructure, to optimize their digital infrastructure, and really to transform their digital infrastructure. And within this business, we've got a number of businesses. Netstar, probably one that you might be familiar with, which is really actually celebrated its 30 years.
Visit Altron.com for more info.
Altron, a technology industry leader
since 1965.
702.
Health and wellness.
9 minutes before 12 o'clock, we go straight to your calls now. Let's start with you, Zandile in Randburg. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Clement?
Good, Zandile. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a parent of a child who's on the spectrum. He was diagnosed when he was quite young, about 7 or 8. Before that, there was speculation on many other things, that he needed intervention on. Ultimately got diagnosed. And when he was younger, I think it was easy through many interventions to get him the help that he needed. Though he struggled with formal schooling, it only became easier when he was in high school, where he could work independently and suddenly started being a straight A student and until university and postgrad. However, dealing with him as an adult with Asperger's, it's a bit of it's not easy. They've got their mind of their own, they've got their way of doing things. And I just want to find out, are there resources where parents can reach out to, to assist with knowledge and information, and also, of course, I can't make decisions for him to go to certain things, but to arm myself to know how to handle certain situations and certain things. Because it becomes difficult as they grow older.
Yeah, and how old is he now?
He's 25, and also he doesn't take my guidance and advice on anything anymore. So when I tell him how to handle things in the workplace,
yes, I'm an adult.
Yeah, and I don't think that's working in his favor.
Okay.
So hence I need the support.
Some support. Thank you, Zandile, for calling us. Ilana?
I want to say to Zandile that thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It really is also actually a success story because he made it through high school and he's employed. Let's just take a moment. You can be so proud of your boy. Like, well done. That's so amazing. I totally understand the challenges that he is now presenting with. We can help him at my organization, and we do work with adults, who have social skills deficits. Zandile was saying, like, he has a mind of his own. They don't always understand shades of grey, perspective taking, intentions of others. Those things can be worked on. We have a wonderful teaching methodology that we use called applied behavior analysis. We have a developmental curriculum that we follow to help the adults with relationship integration, improving their social skills, vocational skills. So we really actually have a whole curriculum, Clement, for older individuals on the spectrum to polish the skills to make them more successful in their personal relationships as well as, in their work environment.
Joseph, you're in Roslyn. Good morning.
Clement,
hey, Tada.
Good morning. And the case. Yeah, look. For me, I will sum it up to say the lack of education. I think it's one of the most critical things when you're raising this child. We raised him when, in fact, he was diagnosed at the age of 6, and then before that we thought he was naughty. We thought because he was jumpy, he couldn't speak because of the speech problem. Only until when the speech therapist at that what is considered a normal school advised us to consult, and we went to the professional confirmed that he's got autism. Now we had to shift him from the normal school to the school that caters for the children with special needs, particularly with autism. But I will say 3 things, Clement, which actually 4, which are the challenges: access to schools, medical aid, which lapses sometime around June, because you've got to cater or pay for your speech therapists and other professionals. The other thing is the stigma. The other people, the communities, including the family members, who will not treat him well. Because remember, we're talking about a child who likes his own space, his territory, he's territorial. It's one of the things that the professional said. He's territorial, and then including his siblings. I'm dealing now currently with his siblings, who from time to time, let me use the word harass him, for lack of a better word. And then you have to deal with them. I'm busy now. We are busy now actually talking to the siblings to say, this is his condition. You just have to go slow with him, including his phone. He doesn't share. Such a child doesn't share. So it's 3 or 4 things that we need to deal with when you're raising such a child. But he's now 20. The other thing is now he has to do his matric. He failed last year, and it's simply because of now the schools that he has to attend to. There's no school that caters for high school now. I'm talking about. There's no high school that caters for kids of this condition. Now he has to go to a normal school. They don't understand him. Like he only passed 1 subject last year. Now I'm busy with the department, liaising with the Department of Basic Education to try to accommodate him. It's such an unfortunate thing that in this day and age you have to deal with such kind of things. Where I thought DBE, Department of Basic Education, would have catered for children with such needs.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joseph in Roslyn, for that. Yeah, Ilana?
I want to say that I also think this boy has just done so well. He started talking and he managed to go to school even though there've been struggles. I completely agree with his father. We need better access to educational services. We need more training for teachers. We need support for the extended family. These are real challenges that we're going through. Zandile, which was the first caller, actually also asked about support. And for both parents, please join our Facebook. It's called Autism Now What? You can join the Facebook, and there are many parents, who give each other advice. Nothing better than following another parent's advice and getting support.
So Autism Now What? That's on Facebook, right?
Correct. And then, to the parents listening who are feeling burdened by the financial obligation of raising kids, and this father raised a very important point, is that a lot of things are not covered for children on the spectrum under medical aid. So the program that we offer, which is applied behavior analysis, is also not covered under medical aid. And in America, it's covered in every single state. In the UK, there's government funding for the teaching methodology that we offer at the Star Academy. I wrote a book. It's called Saving My Sons, A Journey with Autism, where I document all the challenges that parents face trying to access educational and the right medical interventions for these children. And it's a very, very wide spectrum. The two parents who've called in, they have challenges. And in my case, with my older son, who's 22, he's profoundly autistic, Clement. So I'm not even a parent. I'm more a caregiver. And that also comes with its own challenges. But yeah, we really, really do need so much help for these kids and awareness. And that's why we're talking about that today.
Amazing. Go check out Ilana's book, Saving My Son. Check out this group on Facebook, Autism Now What, for some support. Thank you so much, Ilana, for speaking to us. I really, really, really appreciate your time. I'm going to wrap up with this message from Samu, who says, Clement, on the subject of autism, there's a beautifully wholesome show on Netflix, Love on the Spectrum, and it follows a few neurodivergent individuals looking for love. The show gives insight to how society others people on the spectrum. However, I love how those on the show exhibit so much resilience and they own who they are. I always get inspired. Us neurotypical individuals really take life or connection for granted. I've learned a great deal about one's approach and perspective on life from this show. Thank you for having your guest in this chat. That's Samu in Morningside. So that name of the show on Netflix, once again, is Love on the Spectrum. It's a minute before 12.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
7:02.
Coming up next, the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. How are you doing, Mandy?
I'm good, thanks, Clement.
What's popping today?
So we are waiting for Fikile Mbalula to start a press conference, reporting back on the ANC's NWC meeting. Reports that the ANC wants a GNU reset, that they're going to reopen negotiations.
There are rumors of a cabinet reshuffle now.
Yeah, so we'll see what he says. The president has been speaking, so they've been waiting for the president to finish his address at the police summit. So I think that now that he's finished that, Fikile Mbalula will start. There's a mass protest underway in Matatiele as residents want justice for Twetwe. And then we'll tell you and we'll speak to a young guy who's won a global literacy award for his work setting up libraries in South Africa.
All right, that's the Midday Report coming up with Mandy Wiener. Thank you for listening to the show today. We're back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. Gauteng police have arrested 110 people and killed 15 others who were identified as criminal kingpins in the province. The arrests come 2 months after Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi told the provincial legislature during the State of the Province address that 450 people were identified as kingpins. Speaking at the policing summit at Empress Palace in Kempton Park today, Lesufi informed President Cyril Ramaphosa and police top brass that they continue to clamp down on hardened criminals. He says they've been monitoring the identified criminal kingpins in the province.
These are people that are hijacking. These are people that are involved in cash heists. These are people that are renting other people to kill other people. And these are people that are planning ATM bombings and many other horrendous crimes in our province.
Lesufi says they've been monitoring these 450